Let's observe the precepts and make a start. As you have come early, I want to make use of this time to do a bit of reflection and just get in the hang of how you could practice the Dhamma whilst you're at home. Contemplation or meditation if you like, but on the fly. It's not every day you get to go on a retreat. So we have to make your home your retreat. Right. Let us bring our palms together then, in veneration of the Perfect One. And let us make use of this opportunity to renew our pledge of allegiance to the Noble Triple Gem, reminding ourselves that there is no refuge other than the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. The Buddha, which represents the truth, the Dhamma being the path, and Sangha being your practice. With that in mind, let us pay veneration, seek refuge, and observe the precepts before we make a start with today's proceedings. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So we're going to start off today morning by talking about one of your favorite pastimes. Not past times. Pastimes. Meaning things you do to pass time. Now have a think about what it is I might be talking about. What are some of your favorite pastimes? I think loud and I can hear you. Music? Pastime? Movies? Yes. Friends, entertaining friends, going out. Now you don't know which way to nod. You're worried that Swaminatha might judge you. No, Swaminatha is never judgmental. You don't judge. I'm not a judge. I don't have my gravel with me. It's just this is to bless, not to judge. Right? I don't judge. You can't judge, especially if you've been there, done that yourself, right? So you can't judge. That is the benefit that you have with associating with the Mahasangha. Because they weren't born arahants. No one is born an arahant. Everyone is born a prutakjana. The best you can have is a sakrudagami in the sensual world, but you can't have any better than that. So everyone is born with defilements. Those without defilements aren't born. So that is a benefit that you have by associating with the Mahasangha. You know that they were once just like you. Is there a benefit to that? Is there a benefit to that? Yes, well, for one, you know that they will never be judgmental. So they're never going to look down on you. Say, how dare, dirty people. No, whatever it is, you can never surprise me. Whether you say you have these weird fantasies about all sorts of things, which I'm not going to get into detail. I don't want to embarrass you. Whatever it is, even if you feel like you want to kill someone, and perhaps, that's at the back of your mind. One of these days, I'm really going to have a even if it's me, who knows? It's okay. That's perfectly fine. See, the Buddha went to see Angulimala. There was the imminent threat of murder. And he still went to see him. He didn't spare a thought. Not about himself. Because that is what the sasana is all about. Anyhow, pastimes. So, what are your pastimes? I'm going to talk about a very common pastime, and that is eating. Now you're talking, aren't we? Now we are talking. Today is a good sermon. You know it's going to be one. We're going to talk about eating. Is eating supposed to be a pastime? But is it not a pastime? People have made it a pastime, haven't they? I envisage a future for you. I envisage a future in which, when you look at a plate of food, all you see is energy. Not physically see. You understand that all there is energy. Now that might be a long stretch yet, and that's okay. We all have to start somewhere. It's quite possible that today when you look at your food, you see a lot more than energy. In fact, you probably don't even see energy on some occasions. Meaning, on some occasions, you don't actually eat because you need the energy. Let's be honest. I'm not talking to people from Mars, am I? You're all very much human beings. So you know what I'm talking about. Now, consider breakfast. Let's leave the three main meals. Breakfast, okay, you need energy because you're breaking your fast. Lunch, okay, you need energy. Dinner, okay, you need energy. But what about those meals in between? Let's start with those ones. Those naughty little snacks. You have those jars at home, don't you? In those cupboards, they have the murukku and the kasippu. No, not the kasippu. No, you don't have kasippu. You're from Rajagiriya. You can't have kasippu. You have murukku. That you have. Then there's chocolate. Which meal is the right meal for chocolate? Breakfast, lunch, or dinner? See? What is the right meal for a bag of crisps? Breakfast, lunch, or dinner? No, here's the thing. If you consider food merely to be a source of energy, then it really doesn't matter which meal you consider a bag of crisps. Crisps is fine for any meal as long as you're taking it for energy. Because after all, ladies and gentlemen, that is what food is. Energy. Why does a lion eat? Take a lion, right? He's the king of the jungle. Why does a king eat? For energy. When the lion's had his share, what does he do? Put the rest in the fridge for the following day. Have you ever seen a lion add condiments, a bit of pepper, sprinkle some salt, right? Garnish his meal. A bit of ketchup on the side, just for the taste. You don't see beasts do that. Now you'll say, well, Swamina, so that's because beasts don't have the intellectual ability to add flavor to their food. And we do. My. Is that what you're supposed to do with intellectual ability? Here's the question I'm going to have to ask then. Your intellectual ability is something you misuse a lot. Actually, the right thing to say is you hardly use your intellectual ability. Because if you really exercised your intellectual ability, then you must be at peace with what I'm suggesting to you here, and that is food is nothing more than a source of energy. Energy. But let's be fair. Let's be frank. Let's be true to ourselves. Now I want you to take a mental walk home. Go home. But go home. Right? Walk into your kitchen. What do you see? a world of sensual delights. So on the one side you have the refrigerator. Shall we open it? Shall we? Right, open it and have a look at what's in there. Is everything in there something that was bought purely as a source of energy? Or do you have other reasons as to why you bought them? Reasons such as what? Taste? Because you thought or someone told you or you had previous experience of it being delicious, right? And so you bought it. What are some of the other reasons that you have some of the things that you have in your fridge? Okay, taste being one. What are some of the other reasons? Crackers. Why do they have to be different colors? Because it looks nice. When you make a cake, after you baked your cake, what do you put on top of it? Icing, right? Then it becomes an icing cake. What's the deal with icing? Because the cake is not enough energy. The cake itself is not enough energy, so you put some icing just to make sure that you have enough energy. Is that the deal? Then what is it? What's the icing for? It looks nice. This is supposed to be food, ladies and gentlemen. But it's gone beyond food and now it's fashion, isn't it? Just like what happened with clothing. When clothing first came about, it wasn't called fashion back then. Did you know that? It wasn't called fashion back then. It was just called clothing. Later on, it became fashion. Food was also just called food back then. Now it's called fashion again. Did you know that there's such a thing called food porn? There is. So you understand what porn is. The same people have done with food, meaning they have injected sensual delight. They present food in a certain way, and it is so delectable. It looks so appealing and so enchanting that people have adopted this term and they call it food porn. Now the thing is this, we are all blessed with intellectual ability. We have the power of thought, we have the power of insight, we have the power to think. And so we mustn't waste our time doing what is unnecessary, doing what makes no sense. I want for you, like I say, I envisage a future for you where you begin to see food back to how we are supposed to see food. You're supposed to see food purely as a source of energy. But that's not how we see it today. What is the price that you have to pay? Well, for one, those who cook at home know the price that you have to pay. Right? If you think that food comes out of the fridge, then the price you have to pay is merely money. But if you cook at home, then you know the price you have to pay to make it look nice. See, it's packed with all the nutrients you need, it's packed with all the calories you need, but that alone is not enough. It has to look good. What else? It has to smell good. Then it has to taste good. Anything else? Why do you fry it in oil? Indeed, it has to crunch good. It has to be crispy. That's why you have cooked fish and you have fried fish. That's why you have papadums. How much energy do you think papadums have? How much energy do you think a papadum has? See, now you're guilty as charged. There's no hiding, there's no running away now. If you still have papadum on your plate, if you, when you go shopping, still have papadum on your shopping list, then you are a victim of ignorance. My dear people, you are a victim of ignorance. Ignorance has gotten the better of you. So it is my job to try and get you back onto my side, the side of the Buddha. I don't like to think of you all as Mara's children. I like to think of you as the Buddha's children. Is that okay? So the task here is not to make you promise to me that you're not going to have papadums in your shopping list here again, because I'm not going to come and check. I'm not going to ask you to bring in your shopping list from here on, so that Swami Wahanse can check and make sure that you only have the right ones on there, and I can cross other ones off. No, I don't. I've got better things to do than that. But I want you to honestly look at your shopping list. So today is being a Sunday. When do you do your shopping? Your grocery shopping? Saturday or Sunday? Saturday. Okay. Any Sunday shoppers? We have one. Anyone else? Another one at the back. Sunday shoppers? We have a few. Okay. Right, so Sunday shoppers. Sunday shoppers, you'll be going shopping after the sermon. On your way back home. Here's what I want you to do. Take out that list, right, and have a good look at it. Ideally, you can do this in front of a mirror. Have a good look at it, and then have a good look at yourself. And then have a good look at the list again. Then close your eyes and imagine me having a good look at you, eyeballing you up and down. And then have a look at your list again. And then get yourself a pen. And tick the ones that you think Swami Wahanse is going to approve. Tick the ones that you think Swami Wahanse is going to approve of, and see whether by the end of your shopping round, you can only walk out of the supermarket having bought just the ones that you have ticked, and not the other ones. See, this in itself is a good exercise. It's a really good activity. See, I'm already giving you money-saving tips. And who thought Sunday morning was going to be a waste of money and time? You can save a lot on your shopping bills, on your grocery shopping, if only you can think about why you eat. People have lost the plot, I'm sorry to say. I have a video I want to show you now. I want you to watch. I want you to have a good look at it. And I want you to, remember I said, have a good look at your shopping list. Then have a good look at yourself in the mirror. And then close your eyes. And then do what? Imagine Swami Wahanse giving you a good look. Right? So what I want you to do is I want you to watch that video. And I want you to ask yourself whether you have ever been in a position where you've done that sort of thing. You'll see what sort of thing in a moment. And then you are going to be looking at that person doing whatever it is that they're going to be doing. And in just the same way, Swami Wahanse is going to be looking at you whenever you do whatever it is they're doing. Now, a lot of suspense now. You don't know what I'm talking about. You don't know what the video is going to be about. Right? A lot of vexation, I can sense it. Are you ready? So this is going to be your contemplation. First of all, I just want you to look at the video, watch it, and try and understand what's going on there. Okay? Shall we? To the body, what is that? What is it to the body? Energy. That's why if you keep on eating that, what's going to happen? But to the body is never going to get fed up. That's the mind. What's going to happen to the body? The body is going to keep growing in size. Why? Because there's only a certain amount of energy you can expend. The rest of it is stored. And that is how you have become as big as you are. All of you, as in not all of you, all of you individually, every part of you, from head to toe, is some kind of energy storage. So, your muscle is energy. It's a certain form of energy, and we call it muscle. But it's energy nonetheless. That's why a carnivore, a lion, if they saw you, what might they do? If they had it their way? Now, when you go to the zoo, they don't have it their way, because you're on the other side of the fence, right? And that's why they put that barrier. But if you wanted to become a meal to the lion, all you got to do is jump on the other side of the fence. Because when you do that, what does the lion see? They don't see you. They see what? Energy. So if the lion needs energy, what would the lion do? They would consume you. So if a lion would consume you, then what are you? Energy. Then what's this whole thing about you calling yourself all other sorts of names, like I'm a man, I'm a woman? What are you? You're an energy store. In other words, you're a battery. That's all you are. I'm not talking about the mind for a second. I'm talking about your physical bodies now. These bodies that you decorate so lavishly, these bodies that you take in front of the mirror, you take to the salon, right? You dress up, you put all sorts of colors, and you do all sorts of design, and all sorts. Your shampoos and your creams and your ointments and your this and your that, right? Despite all that, if a lion saw you right now, the lion's not going to say, "Oh, she's dressed beautifully. Let's spare her." No, because that is only your take on things. The lion sees nothing other than energy. You are simply a source of energy. That is all you are. So what was on the plate then in that video? What was on the plate? Energy. Now, I have a question though. If all that was on that plate was energy, why have they done a video of this girl eating that? What's the deal? Why does one make a video of someone consuming energy? Do you think for her it's just energy? Do you think so? No, ladies and gentlemen, that is no longer food. It is now fashion. It is no longer energy. It is actually entertainment. It is now entertainment. Have they or have they not lost the plot? Well, let's reserve judgment. Keep along with this story. Let's explore what's going on out there. But as you look out there, you must also look back at yourselves. So if it's okay for you to have a papadum, surely it's okay for her to have a cracker. You know how difficult it is to do one of these sermons? It's quite challenging. because we have to find the place, we have to bring everyone together, the Swami Maharaj has to arrive, right? We have to set the cameras up, do the lights up, and do everything. There's a lot of work that goes into doing one of these. And then these videos, they have to get taken back to the monastery, they get edited, they get uploaded, and they get published, right? So there's a whole process that's involved with all of that. And you know how many views they get? Hardly any. How many views do you think those things get? In the millions. For what? Eating. I'm in the wrong business. I'm in the wrong business. If I wanted views, if I wanted popularity, I'm in the wrong business. What must I be doing instead? See, I'm advising you that there's only energy to be taken from food, but now there's a show on there, and energy has become entertainment, and then they get lots and lots and lots of views. See, people want to watch that. I'm not mocking what's going on there. I'm not finger pointing. I'm not saying that anyone's right or wrong. That's not my job here. I just want you to think, ladies and gentlemen. Have a think about what's going on in the world around you. You know, because this is your world. It's not my world. I don't belong to this world anymore. This is your world. This is the world in which you still want to hang around. I don't. Right? So if you want to hang around in this place, you've got to understand what this world is. Because these rules apply to you. You've got to read the rule book and understand what's going on if you want to stick around. So we live now in a world, this being the 21st century and all, we live now in a world where food has become such an entertainment, an object of such entertainment, that people record these things, they put them online, and viewers flock. And they watch them. The platform is where food becomes entertainment. Once again, this is not me mocking them. This is not me faulting them. I'm just saying, look at what has happened to the human mind. That's all I'm saying. Your intellectual ability must allow you, must permit you, must move you forward from wherever you are right now. If you do the same, then I have a problem with that. I don't mind the rest of the world doing it because they are still new to the Buddha Dhamma, or at least they have not come across the Buddha's teaching. But it is not so for you. You have come here and said, Swami Maharaj, we want to get to Nibbana. We want to understand the world as it is. We want to understand what sight is, what sound is, what smell is, what taste is, what touch is. We want to understand how the mind works. So if you're going to say that you want to understand all of this and make sense of life as it is, well then we have to take it all onto the surgical table and now begin to truly understand what's going on with us. Let's be honest. If you still have papadums on your shopping list, how much better are you than the person on the video? Don't be embarrassed. Right? You can have papadums there, you can have crackers there, you can have this, that, whatever you want. You know, my task here is not to get you to stop shopping for anything. I just want you to do it with full knowledge about what you're doing. If you want to indulge in food, go ahead, but know that that is what you're doing. Be my guest. My task is not to get you to stop doing anything you want to do. It's not to stop. My task is simply to educate you. I want to educate you. I want to inform you. I want to enlighten you. So when you're suitably informed, suitably educated, and suitably enlightened, then you can make your own choices. Hey, who am I to make choices on your behalf? What right do I have to make your choices? I don't have any right. But your presence here only gives me the liberty to educate you. That's it. So can we come to an agreement that I'm going to stop there? Is that all right? I will stop there. I will stop at education. From there on, the ball's in your court. You've got to do what you want to do. Because the rewards of your good actions are whose? And the consequences of your bad actions are whose? Well then, who's got to decide? You've got to decide. So on the plate, what do we have in the video? Crisps. What is it? Energy. What about the colors that you saw? There were a myriad of colors, weren't there? Some were orange, others were yellow, others were red, maybe paprika and chili flavored and prawn flavored. And you come on, don't pretend like you don't know any of this. You're all waiting for me to give you the list. So all these flavors that are usually, these crisps come in, they come in a variety of flavors, don't they? Onion flavored, what else? Cheese, cheddar, not cheese, cheddar flavored. Then what else do they come in? What? Now you're embarrassed. Salty. So you could have crisps in 100 different flavors, easy. But I have a question. Do any of those flavors exist in them? Do any of those flavors actually exist in the crisp? Do they? I'm talking about the taste. Does taste exist in your food? Do they? No. What about the color that you saw? Some were orange, some were red, some were shades in between. Those colors, do they exist in food? No. So let's try to list and cross things out. Right? So that video was done for entertainment. Would you agree? Or was it simply to demonstrate how someone takes up energy? Was that what it was for, or was that for entertainment? Let's be honest, right? That's for entertainment. So entertainment meaning it has to have color. Color is part of entertainment. What else? Sound. So these days they have this, I can't say these days, I think it's been some time now, but these days I'm not abreast with technology. And all these trends that are going on out there, people tell me, and then that's when I get to know. So now they have this thing called ASMR. And you say, Swaminathan, these days? Come on, Swaminathan, you're old school. So they have this thing called ASMR. For those of you who know it, correct me if I'm wrong, but for those of you who don't, it's basically where people are, let's say, trying to appreciate the variety of sound and the tantalizing effect that sound has. So there are all sorts of videos where people, they put a very sensitive microphone, and what they do is they do this. 5 million views. One of my sermons? Only you look at me. As I said, I'm in the wrong business. If I was here to make money, there are many other things I could be doing right now. And YouTube pays well, apparently. So, to make a living now, you don't even have to go and work. You don't have to break a sweat. You could just stay at home, do your content. Of course, you have to put in time and effort and to design your content and do all that. I'm not suggesting that they're just sitting on their backside doing nothing at all. You've got to do something, but it doesn't require a lot of intelligence, as far as I can understand. This can earn you money. And it's not even a violin. So what they do is they place these really sensitive, highly sensitive microphones, and then they record that. And by some accounts, apparently it's therapeutic. Arguably, I don't know. Some people say it is. But that was what was going on there as well. So as you watch that video, what they're doing is this ASMR thing, and I can't remember what those letters stand for. You may know, doesn't matter really. This is an acronym for something. But what they do is, as this lady, she eats those crisps, there's a really super sensitive microphone which is connected to somewhere, her collar or something, and that records all those noises that it makes. So it no longer is that food is no longer merely a delight to your eyes or your nose or your tongue. It can now become a very vivid experience. Someone showed me the other day one of these videos where there's a gentleman, apparently what he does is, he goes out to restaurants and he buys food from those restaurants, and then he lays it out on a table, opens them up, and he starts eating them, and he talks about how delicious the food is, how good it is. So he's kind of critiquing the food. I got that part. That I'm okay with. That's what people do with food. They eat it, right? And it's okay to critique it. But there are people who watch these videos, and some of them, I saw one of the comments there, and one of the comments said, I'm glad that you're eating this because I would never be able to afford something like that. I'm glad that you're eating it so that I can experience, I can enjoy your description of it. Your description of the food. And that for me is such a reward. So this was frankly one person's comment. And that was not the only comment. There were many comments that were along the same lines. My point is this: how much watching that video fills one's stomach? Does that feed you? My point is, what has become of food? Food is no longer food. Color, sound, what else? Smell. That's another reason why people eat. Then? What else? So we call it touch. I know what you don't mean like touching with your fingers, but the tactile sensation that you get when you put it in your mouth, right? How the inside of your mouth feels, how your tongue feels it, right? That's what you're talking about. These are all things that people look forward to when they talk about having a meal. Most of the time, you actually forget. Excuse me. Most of the time, people actually forget the very thing that food was supposed to serve, which is energy. And food has become a source of all of these. Can I be frank with you? If you truly took food for the purpose of energy, which is what actually food is, or which is what food actually is, if you truly took food for what it's supposed to be, you'd be twice as healthy as you are today. At least twice as healthy. At least twice as healthy. I'm in the same boat. I'm no better. At least the way I used to be. So as a layperson, I had no understanding that food was only supposed to be a source of energy. I really, honestly, genuinely thought that food was supposed to be all of this as well. Hasn't that thought crossed your mind? I mean, isn't that the view that people have today? Let's be honest. Aren't we all, don't we all share in that view that food is supposed to be more than just energy? Now, when you have visitors, what do? You don't just serve them plain rice. Even if you ate plain rice, right, for lunch, if you have visitors, what would you do? You would do something special. And what are some of the special things you might do? fried rice, yellow rice, right? What's the difference between yellow rice and white rice? One's got a little bit more, not a little bit more, the other one's got turmeric and the other hasn't, or some kind of food coloring. That's it, that's all it is. So what is the only additional thing you've added to that? Is yellow rice more nutritional than white rice? Is it healthier? Does it help your bones grow? Or does it give you better eyesight? Does it work magic on your brain? Do you become wiser, more intelligent by eating yellow rice? Yes or no? Then why do you make it? Why do you make it? Is it okay for me to ask you this question? Yeah? Permission granted? Okay. Then why do you cook yellow rice? Why do you add coloring to your food? No, why? Is it energy you're after? No, because today food is more than energy. And you seem to be okay with that, aren't you? That's a mental disease. You seem to be okay with that. And that's not your fault, because those are the indoctrinations that we've had right from when we were younger. Growing up, we saw this happen at our households. We saw it happen at home. When there was a party, remember? When there was a party, someone invited you, friends invited you, your relations invited you, and you went over, you saw that there was something different about the food. Did you or didn't you? You saw that there was something different about the food. If someone said, hey, let's go out for a meal, and they took you to a restaurant or a hotel or somewhere, and then you ordered the food, there was something different about the food. Something different, something you couldn't experience at home. It tasted different. It smelled different. It felt different. See, now today when people eat, they have music. Let's take any good restaurant. At a restaurant, they create that ambience. Yeah, you have to have the music. Why? Now, I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't. I really hope you don't misunderstand me. My purpose is purely, 100%, hand on heart, my purpose is purely to get you to open your eyes and go back to understanding food for what it really is. That's it. If you've understood that, do whatever it is you wish. Right? If you can't stop at music, you can dance and eat at the same time. I don't care. That's okay. I have no problem with that. I mean, do a somersault every time you put something in your mouth. I frankly don't care. It's not the problem. I don't have a problem with that. Education, where you lack in education, my task is to educate. My task is to impart knowledge and wisdom. That's it. Your choices are yours to make. Yes? Right. So this is not me dictating what you should do or what you shouldn't do. But I feel it is my duty to take you back to your roots, to help you understand that food is supposed to be food. Food is food, ladies and gentlemen. Food is food. Food is none of these things. I tell you, food is none of these things because none of these things actually exist in food. None of these things exist in food. Color is not a characteristic of food. There is no color in food. There are pigments, but people sometimes add pigments. They add food coloring because they want their food to look a certain way. Now, sometimes things even I used to do, right? When you garnish your food, like you serve rice, right? And then you might take a carrot, and these carrots, even you can cut it in certain shapes, can't you? You have these cutters, right? Like they look like stars and all that. Right? Why? I mean, what's wrong with a slice of carrot looking like that? If you chop a carrot, right? This is a cross section of a carrot. This is what it's supposed to look like. Why does it have to look like this? I mean, why? Carrots and cucumbers. Why do they have to look like that? So what do you do when you put food on rice on a plate, on a dish? You put these things around it, don't you? Why? Because it's no longer food. Let's admit the truth. It's not food anymore. It's not food anymore. It's like your daughter. When she comes of age and you give her hand in marriage to someone, she's no longer just a daughter. She's someone's wife. You understand that, don't you? She's no longer just a daughter. She's not your innocent daughter anymore. Because when you say, my daughter, there's a sense of innocence about that, right? Oh, she's only my daughter. But the day that she gets married and goes away with a man, she's not just your daughter. She's now more than just your daughter. She's now a married woman. She's someone's wife. So you can't expect the same sort of so-called innocence from her. Whatever it is you refer to when you say innocent. See, the same has happened with food. Food is no longer just food. I'm not for one moment suggesting that we should go around the world or wherever to the people who cook food or the culinary experts and tell them that they should go back to just making a meal and serving food. No. That is not what I mean. And in fact, if ever you get an opportunity to serve food to someone, invite guests, right? Throw a party, or even you take alms to the temple. Do the best you can. It is not about your actions that I question here. It is what's going on in your mind. Because here's the deal. If you're ready for it. For as long as you don't accept food as food, there is no hope for you to escape from the karma worlds. You cannot escape the sensual world until you have accepted that food is merely food. Did I not tell you once? The Buddha himself said that it is not an attachment to the opposite gender that is the stronger one to break. The Buddha himself said that the stronger attachment to break, or the more difficult attachment to break, is one's attachment to food. It's one's attachment to food, ladies and gentlemen. If your attachment to someone of the opposite gender, or just the opposite gender in general, is like a rope tied to a tree, if that is the analogy, then I'm sorry to say, your attachment to food is like an anchor that keeps a ship from sailing. That's how strong it is. It is not something you have to take as trivial. It's not a trivial matter. It's a big thing. You were all Brahmas in the past, Brahmas in the Brahma worlds. It was called the Abhasara Brahma world. That's where you all started. But because of your attachment to food, you began to descend. You descended from the Brahma worlds, and now you are born in the sensual world. You cannot give up your attachment to the sensual world, see, because food has become all of these five senses. Today, food is not a source of energy, food is an indulgence. Please understand that my task is not to mock you, laugh at you, to condemn anything you're doing or anything of that sort. Right? Because for what perhaps there are people here whose livelihood is to do with food. And this is not me attacking you. I don't mean to hurt you or any of that. I just want your salvation. That's what I want. You have come here, you have read the banner, it says, step-by-step guide to Nibbāna. This is not gateway to heaven. This is gateway to Nibbāna. If this was gateway to heaven, I wouldn't talk about these things with you. I'd say, put the best you can, do the loveliest dinner you can, and serve it to the rest of the world. Serve everyone all the time with as much of energy and love and affection that you can. That's what I would say if this was gateway to heaven. It's not gateway to heaven. It's gateway to Nibbāna. To get to Nibbāna, you have to go beyond the realms of heavenly thinking. That's why I say, I envisage a future for you where you have understood what food is. Folks, we have lost the plot. You saw that video. On the plate was what? What was on the plate? Crisps. But what was truly there? Energy. So the plate was on the table. Yeah? So then you could say on the table was energy. What was on the chair? What was on the chair? No, that was a lady. Wasn't it? What was on the chair? Energy yet again, right? That was also energy. So what did you actually see in the video? Transferring of energy. All you saw was a transference of energy. Energy going from one place to another. But is that actually what you saw? In your mind, is that what you saw? No, you saw a girl having crisps. That's why people love to watch those videos. And she's dressed the part as well. She's done her makeup. Because it's entertainment. It's no longer just eating. I mean, do you eat like that at home? You put on your lipstick and you do your face and do all that before you take your meal? So that's not food then. You know, when you actually eat food because you're hungry, you know how haphazardly you do it. It is not done with any sense of dignity, right? You just shove whatever it is that is on your, sometimes, while you're driving to work. You know what I'm talking about. If you only have 5 minutes, 10 minutes to quickly grab a meal, right? You probably, maybe even you eat while you work. You don't even know what's going down you, half the time. Working lunches, heard of them? We used to have them when I used to, in my late life. Now we don't have working lunches at the monastery. We work, but not that kind of work. Our minds are at work. But when you actually take food for what it is, you really don't care about what it tastes like, what it smells like, what it looks like, because you just need your nutrition. You're hungry and you want to put something into you so that you can carry on with your work. See, when you're focused on something else, you really don't care about any of these things. Yes or no? When you're focused on something else, you don't care about any of these. But when your focus becomes this, now you're very particular about what your food looks like, what it tastes like, what it smells like, what it sounds like. See, that was a plate full of papadums. The Europeans call it crisps. We call it papadums. What good does a papadum serve? Other than entertainment, what good does a papadum serve? Nothing at all. So then why do people eat it? Actually, that's not eating then. That's not eating, because eating is supposed to be your way of taking in what? Energy. Do you not remember you learned eating at school? That people talk about eating. There were things that living things did. Very first, science lessons. When you learn to distinguish between living and non-living things, right? What were some of the things that living things did that non-living things didn't do? They breathe. Respiration was something that living things do. They breathe. Then they eat. Right? Living things eat, non-living things don't eat. So what was eating after all? That was a method to acquire energy. That was what eating was supposed to be. But it is not that today. Not just today, it's been like that for some time now. It's not that. Now, the whole thing of eating has become art. This is the mind's desire to experience separation. The mind's desire to experience variety. The mind's desire to experience something that stands out. The irony of it is, ladies and gentlemen, see, none of these exist in food. That is the irony. None of these exist in food. Okay, let's say your food is not red today, let's say a tomato, right? You have a red tomato, and let's say you have a yellow tomato. So let's take a capsicum. It comes in 3 or 4 different colors, right? So you have a red capsicum and let's say you have a yellow capsicum. What does the yellow capsicum give you that the red one doesn't? What? Vitamins. Even if there was a difference, you're talking about a tiny difference which your body wouldn't even pick up on, even if there were a difference. But frankly, you don't look at the vitamin and nutritional differences when you pick your capsicums. You just go, what would look nice on my dinner plate? And that's the factor that you use to decide that. But what does one color offer you that another color doesn't? As far as food is concerned. Now take food coloring. Take food coloring. So you can have food coloring that makes your cake look like it's strawberry cake. Then you had red coloring. You can make it look like it's chocolate cake by adding brown coloring. Right? So now 2 different colors. What does one coloring serve you, the other coloring doesn't? As far as food is concerned, is one more nutritious than the other? Does one give you more brain power than the other? So what does it serve? Nothing other than something that you like to see. It's just for the sense of sight, just to please your sense of sight. Then it cannot be food anymore, can it? That's not food you're making. That's not food you're making. Now you have become an entertainer. This is a work of art. Your food is no longer food, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be honest. Ask yourself, has it not become a work of art now? So actually, most of you are artists. Culinary artists. I'm not saying that it's a sin. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm not suggesting for one moment that it's a sin and you should stop it immediately. No. So sabba papa sakaranang does not mean that you have to stop that. That is not my intention here. I just want you to think about why you do these things. See, it's the purpose behind this that I question. If through food, you're looking for sensual delight, I'm sorry to say, Nibbana is a long way away. That's the problem I have. Nothing else. If Nibbana didn't exist, if there was no such thing called Nibbana, class dismissed. That's it. I will not speak a word anymore, and every word that I just spew out, I will take back. If Nibbana did not exist, but let's be honest, Nibbana is there. Because suffering is real, Nibbana is real. Because Nibbana is there, and you're so keen on getting to Nibbana, I now have to question your everyday choices. Sorry. You gave me permission. but the doors are wide open. But you still don't leave. Even after having said all of this, you're still here. Suggesting that you want me to continue, maybe. And the thing is this, most of the time you get to associate with very resourceful people, people who are talented, people who are skilled, people who explore these things, people whose work involves studying art and how we can incorporate art into pretty much everything we do in life, like dress, clothing. When what is a dress plus art? You call it fashion. So what is food plus art? This is food. This is art. This is all art. Art does not belong to Nibbana. Because art is an expression of your mental vexation. That's why different people like different kinds of art. Art is an expression of mental vexation. You don't even like me to say those things out loud, do you? It kind of hurts, doesn't it? Kinda. It doesn't feel comfortable when someone suggests to you that art is an expression of mental vexation. Because then you look at yourself, but all this effort that I took to dress up nicely, all that effort that I did to design my house and made those choices about how it was going to look, the upholstery, the furniture, the garden, the walls, the paint that I chose, the tiling, all of that. When the Buddha speaks to us and he advises the kind of shelter that we should seek as monks, he gives one instruction, and that is, find somewhere where when you sit down to meditate and it rains, you don't get wet. Provided it meets that requirement, you have found a shelter, monk. That is the Buddha's guidance to us. That is the Buddha's guidance. And when he advises us when he gives us guidance on how to pick something that is suitable for clothing, see, we have a pratyaviksha for that as well. Often you've heard us doing the pratyaviksha when we take our meals. You've heard that at the monastery. But you don't hear the pratyaviksha that we do when we put our robes on ourselves. Patisankhayo niso chivarang patisevami. Yavadeva sitassa patighataya. See, sitassa, what do you think that is? To keep ourselves warm. Unnassa patighataya. If it's warm, if it's too hot, then clothing keeps us cool. Dansa makasavata tapasirin sapa sampassanam patigataya. Meaning from the wind, from the elements. It keeps us safe from the elements. Keeps us safe from things like mosquitoes, insects, other creepy crawlies, things that could hurt us, harm us. That is the contemplation, that is the reflection that we must do when we put on our robes. So in other words, what he suggests is, an item of clothing is meant to be something that keeps the body safe. Really, this is a home for the body, isn't it? Your dress is a home for the body. And that is the purpose it's supposed to serve. But is it not a lot more than that to the average person today? Once again, I'm not suggesting that from here on you must just walk out like, dressed like monks or anything. That's not what I'm suggesting. You don't have to go back, dressed plain white or, go back, wear rags. It's not what I'm suggesting. You can dress as elegantly as you like, but only do so because society expects that of you. When you go to a party, go suitably dressed. Don't go to the party like you come to the Jaitanarama. And don't come to Jaitanarama like you would go to the party. When you go to the funeral, go suitably dressed. Don't go to a funeral like you were going to a party. And don't go to a party like you were going to the funeral. Each setting has an appropriate way that you have to dress. But please understand that it is the situation that demands your sense of fashion. It is the situation that demands your dress code. Where it says RSVP, dress code casual, go dress casual. Where it says RSVP, black tie, go in that. But adhere to whatever the world expects of you without you having an expectation on how you might look in it. If fashion has become, or your dress, your clothing has become some of these, what hope is there for such a person to get out of samsara? Because that is misusing your five senses. It's misusing clothing, it's misusing food. Do it because the world expects of you. Some of this is really hard to follow, isn't it? It can be. But like I have said before, and I've said plenty of times, the rules of the game are not different for you and I. Oh, how we wish if it were. That for monastics it was one set of rules, and for the lay community it was another set of rules. Wouldn't that be nice? To get to Nibbana? If you didn't have to understand the Dhamma as much as a monk did to get to Nibbana, wouldn't that be nice? Then what would I do? I would disrobe and become a layperson again. Because if you didn't have to follow the same procedure, the same methods, the same contemplation, the same profound insight, if you didn't need that to get to Nibbana, just as the same as the Venerable Sariputta did, I would disrobe and come back to my lay life. But the rules of the game are the same. So it's not about how you dress yourself, it's the why you dress yourself that way. Remember, in these sermons, I don't really question your whats. I question your whys. That is what I question. Why do you do what you do? Why do you color your food is my question. Not what color it is. Rice does not have to be served as white rice. It does not. Let's serve it yellow rice. It's fine. But what? Why? Why? If your answer is, well, Swaminatha, it's supposed to be like that. We have work colleagues coming around, it's a party. Right? I've invited my work colleagues around and they'd expect something like that. Fair enough, let's do it. Let's do that. But if it is because you like it better like that, if you find that more appealing, then I'm sorry, it is no longer food for you. Now it has become entertainment. And the moment food becomes entertainment, you have given up on Nibbana. You've given up on Nibbana. The moment you begin to expect these things from your food, what it sounds like when you chew it, what it looks like when it's served, what it smells like when you inhale, what it tastes like when you put it in your mouth, the moment you begin to expect these things from your food, sorry, you have given up on Nibbana. Because I'll explain to you why I say that you have given up on Nibbana. I'll tell you why. I'll explain to you. Nibbana is not something you're going to attain in the future. Do you all understand that? That Nibbana is not a promise in the future. It's not like a promised land that you can all get to someday. That's not what Nibbana is. Because Nibbana is timeless. Nibbana is not something that exists in the future, and Nibbana is not where you came from. It is not time-bound. So we cannot think or speak of a Nibbana that will happen to you if you are wholesome, if you are good. That's not what Nibbana is. Nibbana can only exist in the presence. Nibbana can only exist in the present. It is your acceptance of that. That is Nibbana. Let's take a simple example. Let's go back to food because we are on the topic. Whenever you think that my food is this color, right now go back to those chips again. The person in the video was entertaining herself and her viewers by indulging in that feast. So both for the viewer and the person doing it, one would imagine that they expect that the sound comes from the food. And the smell is in the food, and the taste is in the food, and the sight is in the food. The sight meaning the color is in the food. And that is why they eat that in front of a camera. See, the moment you think, ladies and gentlemen, that color is in food, you have ignored the reality that you are nothing more than a series of chittas. Let me say that again. Are you all paying attention? Good. But this is a joint venture. I can only give you a lending hand. You have to grab my hand and use that and pull yourself across. Don't pull me to your side while you're at it, okay? My teacher wouldn't send me here if he thought that if you pulled me, I would fall onto your side. So he has some confidence that I wouldn't trip onto the other side. Hence, I extend my arm to you, grab it, use it for support, and come over to this side. I don't mean this side, not yet, but this side of thinking. Come to reality. Ready? Okay, well, here's my arm. Grab it now. Whenever you think that color is in food, whenever you think that color is in food, at that moment you have to ignore the fact, or you have ignored the fact, not have to, but rather you have ignored the fact that you are a chitta. You've ignored that fact. Why do I say that? What is the basis for my proposal? Because what is color? Exactly. What is color? A color is a chitta. Do you need me to remind you quickly? How do we see color? There's a source of light. Light is only energy. Here have the eye. Does color exist yet? Does color exist yet? What about light? What color is light? What color is that light? Those lights, the tube lights, what color are they? White, right? And these flashlights, they're yellow, aren't they? Aren't they? No, they're not. That's just energy. That's just energy. Energy at different vibrations, or rather very different frequencies. They're vibrating at different frequencies. No color exists yet. So that energy reaches your eye, your retina. At the back of that you have the optic nerve. In your nerve, you can only conduct what? Color. Is color conducted in nerves? No, then electricity doesn't conduct anything else other than electricity, because there's a potential difference here. And using that potential difference, a charge is sent down this nerve, and it gets to your brain. So there's a part of the brain where these nerves go and end up. At this point, is there color? Color? Color going once? Color going twice? No, color gone, right? No color. No color yet. But the brain is a beautiful piece of machinery which has the interface to the mind. So the mind is a faculty at this point. Just like your eye is a faculty, your ear is a faculty, your nose is a faculty, your tongue is a faculty, your mind is also a faculty. It's what we call an indriya. Is anything faculty thinking science faculty, law faculty, and art faculty? These are the faculties that we've come to know. So a faculty is somewhere that can produce something. Something that can do, something where something can happen. That's what we mean by a faculty. Something could happen. It has a faculty. Okay? So the brain has an interface to the mind faculty. At this point, you have a rupa. This is where the perception process begins. Rupa. For this entire process, ladies and gentlemen, for once, a fragment of color has been born. This is the point at which color is born. Although color is born, it has not been perceived yet. Although color has been born, it has not been perceived yet. Because the perception of this object, which is color, is now about to happen. What happens next is what it's all right. Thank you. So at this point, we have a fragment of color. So if you also have your phones on you, this might be a good point to make sure that yours is on silent, because otherwise another phone's going to go off in a bit. Okay? So we have a fragment of color, but this color has not been perceived yet. Because the perception process, ārammana vijñāna lakkhana, is the chitta. Meaning the characteristic of perception is a chitta. You call this a pen because it has the characteristic of writing. That's why you call it a pen. So a chitta, or the mind, or a thought, is the characteristic of perception. So now that this object has been introduced to the mind faculty, Vedana comes next. This is like a trigger. In other words, hey, something's happened. This is your alert. Just like we got an alert a moment ago. Someone wants to get hold of you. That's the alert. So what do you do when the phone goes off? You pick it up and then you look at it, right? Why do you look at it? Because now you have to identify who's trying to get hold of you. That would be sanya. Who is it? Rather, what is it? That's a sanya. And then at that point you make a decision. Do I answer it? Or do I leave it for now? Because there's a sermon going on? Or, to heck with the sermon, I have to answer my call. Sankara. This is the point at which Rupa is combined with Vedana, is combined with Sanya. So the amalgamation of these three elements happens at Sankara. That's where everything is kind of cooked together. So it's like if you can imagine cooking at home, you put all your stuff together and now it's like all in one pot. And this is the point where you're now stirring the whole thing with a spoon. That's what happens at Sankara. As a result of that, now you get your Vijnana, which is the cooked meal, if you like. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, is where your perception of color happens. Meaning, now when you say this is blue, way before you could perceive this as blue, blue had already happened. Where? Up here? 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 In the brain? Yeah? No, where? Right here. Where the Rupa part was. That's where blue happened. But if the process had stopped there, as a mind, you wouldn't know that blue had happened. You wouldn't know that blue had happened, but blue's happened. The rest of this process is what helps you to perceive that blue has happened. So where's the first place that blue happens? Exactly. Right up here. That is what Rupa is. And not just blue. The same goes for red. The same goes for orange. The same goes for green. The same goes for black. The same goes for white. The same goes for any color that you can think of. And let's not just stop at color. What about sound? So where do we have Beethoven? Where does he begin to exist? At Rupa. Where does Frank Sinatra begin to exist? At Rupa. Michael Jackson? Again at Rupa. Bon Jovi? Again at Rupa. The Three Sisters? Again at Rupa. They all begin at that point, Rupa. The rest of your thought process is to help you process that. If this didn't happen, there would be no point in there being Rupa. There would be no point. Meaning there would still be blue, but you would have no awareness that blue had occurred. Does that make sense to you all? Wonderful. See what a great audience you are. See, this is what your intellectual ability should be put to use. To understand that blue was never in your plate. Yellow was never on your plate. Red was never on your plate. Orange was never on your plate. That carrots are not what? Orange. Or carrots are not. What color are the carrots actually? Red? What color are your carrots? Who knows? But there's one thing we do know, that carrots have no color. Yes, of course, they only have energy, but they have no color. What color is broccoli? That thing you love to eat, broccoli? What color is broccoli? It has no color. What about sausages? Has no color. Pizza? Cheese? What color are these things? They have no color. But you still use them to garnish your dishes. So don't you do that with sausages? You have your fried rice, and then you buy sausages, you cook them, chop, 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 and then lay it down on your plate, don't you? In here and there. And your cashews. Yes, put your cashews here and there. Why? Why can't you just put it on one side? I mean, you can serve the rice and this serve a dish of cashews or sausages or whatever. Why does it have to go around the plate or around the dish? Because it looks nice. It looks nice like that, doesn't it? That's exactly what I'm getting at. Meaning it has gone beyond food now. Because food is only supposed to be your source of energy. But it's no longer food now. Now it's entertainment. But that was not what food was for. And it's not what food is for. And it never will be what food will be for. Food is food, ladies and gentlemen. Food is purely for your sustenance. It need not be any color. It need not be any sound. It need not be any smell or taste or touch. And frankly, it is none of them. We've talked in the past about how smell occurs, which is the funniest thing of all. Because the only way that smell is possible is that food has particular shapes, and your nose has particular receptors that take complementary shapes, and these two shapes, they fit each other, and that triggers an electrical current that goes down your nervous system onto your brains. Your brain then interfaces with the mind faculty, and all of, from nowhere, smell has occurred. But then you think that smell is in the food. How wrong can someone be? The next time you take your plate and take a nice whiff of it, right? Whack yourself. Or stick the whole thing in your face. Right? Because honestly, you're trying to take something that does not exist in your food. Come on, do yourselves a favor, ladies and gentlemen. If you're serious about Nibbana, you've got to start looking at the world through a different lens. Hey, this is no joke. We can laugh about it, we can talk about it, I can crack a few jokes about it and entertain you one half of the Sunday. But that doesn't cut it. This is serious stuff. I try to inject a little bit of, I don't know what you call it, make this a little bit enjoyable for you, but this is serious stuff we're talking about. We're talking about your samsara. You're stuck in this pit. You're stuck in this cesspit until you come out of it, out of your own intelligence, out of your own wisdom. So it's no good just to listen to this talk, go home and then just enjoy your meal. You've lost. Is any of you in this mentality or mindset that coming to the Sunday sermons is going to get you to Nibbana? Remember, this is only the gateway. It's not the pathway. This is only the gateway. All I can do is open the gate for you. I can open the gate to you and say, that's the path, walk it. This is only the gateway to Nibbana. It's been aptly named so that you shall not be fooled. Don't think that just coming here, just bringing yourselves here every Sunday is going to get you to Nibbana. Ain't gonna happen. I can guarantee that. It will not happen. I can also give you another guarantee. Because the Buddha gives a guarantee. Arabhatha nikkamata yunjata buddha sasana. Dunata macchuno sena nalagaranga kunjalo. So we must mean Dhamma vine appamatto vihesati. Pahaya jati sansara dukkha santang karisati. These are the Buddha's words, and let me explain what he said. Arabhatha nikkamata yunjata buddha sasana. With effort, will, determination and resolve. Engage yourself in the Buddha Sasana. Buddha Sasana is not offering flowers at the feet of the Buddha. That is not Buddha Sasana. Buddha Sasana is also not a ministry. That is opposite the Vihara Mahadevi. That is not the Buddha Sasana. Buddha Sasana is not the shrines, it is not the temples, it's not the pagodas, it's not the stupas, it's not the statues. That is not the Buddha Sasana. Buddha Sasana can only exist and also can not exist in one place, and that is with you. It either exists within you or it doesn't exist at all. You are the evidence of Buddha Sasana. If it's not there within you, ladies and gentlemen, then the Buddha Sasana does not exist for you. Don't look outside for the Buddha Sasana. Look within for the Buddha Sasana. That's why the Buddha says, Arabhatha nikkamata yunjata Buddha Sasana. With determination and resolve, endure. Go forth. Make progress. Dhunata machchano sena. Nalagarang kunjaru. Just as a great tusker, a great elephant, with one twist or a turn of his great trunk, he could bring down a hut made of bamboo. He could bring down and completely destroy and disassemble, dismantle a hut made of bamboo. In that manner, one who is diligent with their practice can destroy the Mara. Again, Mara is not someone somewhere else. Mara is within you. Mara is when you think color is in your food. Mara is when you use food for entertainment. That is Mara. That's why you say Mara Rahai. See? Mara Lassana. That is your Mara. Yo imasming dhamma vine appamatto vihesati. If you're heedless in your practice being first understand the Dhamma and then practice it. Meaning apply what you have understood. Coming to the Sunday morning sermons is only one half of it. When you're here, like I said, I can only impart knowledge to you. I can create an environment where your wisdom comes alight. Frankly, I can't give you wisdom. Wisdom has to happen within you. In these words, there is no wisdom. Wisdom is not something that can be infused from me to you, or from you to me, or from my teacher to me. That's not how wisdom happens. Wisdom arises where the right factors come together. So you are either born with the faculty of wisdom or you're not. You are born with the potential for wisdom or you're not. I assume that you're all born with the potential for wisdom, and therefore I make effort to ignite the light of wisdom within you. But you can't do that without the Buddha's words. You can't do that without opening up your eyes, without showing you what's really going on your plate and what's not going on there, but it's only going on in your mind. This is the catalyst for that reaction within you which will light up the flame of wisdom. But remember, a catalyst only makes a reaction go faster. It does not take part in that reaction. At the end of your reaction, the catalyst is there as if nothing's ever happened. That's why they're called catalysts. So the Swamin Wahanse is only a catalyst. Whether you get to Nibbāna or not, I will be the same. You come, you go, I'm still here. Yo imasming dhamma vine appamatto vihesati. If you endure yourself heedlessly and diligently, fervently in your practice, then pahaya jati sansara. You shall eradicate sansara. Jati of sansara. Jati, you know what we're talking about now. Your sense of self. Dukkha santang karissati. You will exterminate dukkha, suffering, once and for all. See, this is the guarantee that the Buddha gives. So it would be foolish and unwise of me to suggest to you then, hey, when he has said that it's enough just for you to bring yourself here on Sunday mornings. This is me turning the ignition. I can turn the key and I can ignite you, but your fuel is yours. You've got to fuel yourselves. I can motivate you, I can inspire you. I can educate you, I can entertain you. These are the only things that I can do. That's why I say, let's learn. Let's understand. Let's understand what's going on with your dinner plate. But please, when you get back home to dinner, eat your food. Don't let your food eat you. But that's what most people do. They don't consume their meal. They're consumed by their meal. So when you're indulging in your food, ladies and gentlemen, it becomes a whole experience for you. I'm not saying it's evil. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's unwholesome. What I'm saying is you're bidding farewell to Nibbana. That's what I'm saying. If this was not a talk about Nibbana, I would not be talking about this topic to you, honestly. But I have to say these words to you because you have come here for Nibbana. If that is the case, then there are no two sets of rules for you and I. It's the same. Then your food cannot be your source of entertainment. Your food can only be your source of energy. Promise yourself that from here on, you will only look at food as a source of energy. Not on my behalf. You don't have to do it for me. Seriously, you don't have to do it for me. I will not fall out with you because you don't do that from here on. Oh no. I love you regardless. I don't mind about that. But you have to mind about it. You must. It's no choice. If you're serious about Nibbana, then you've got to take this seriously. So you're going to head back home today for lunch. Right? Or you might go out for lunch with some friends or whatever. At least you're going to take dinner if you're going to skip lunch altogether. So there's going to be some time today, you're going to sit down in front of your plate. At that moment, if you don't, remind yourself at the very least about what we've talked about this morning. If you don't look at your plate and ask yourself the question, whoa, hold on a second, what color? As you put that thing in your mouth and you play tennis with your tongue, shoving it between each cheek, trying to experience the whole taste of it. If you're doing that with your food, you're not going to get to Nibbana. That's the price you'll have to pay. Are you annoyed with me that I am saying these things with you? Swaminatha, don't ruin it for us, please. You're actually not experiencing something that is real. This is a fantasy. These are all dreams. Honestly, these are all dreams. Color is a dream. Sound is a dream. Smell is a dream. Taste is a dream. Touch is a dream. The only thing that's here that's not a dream is energy. Just this morning, as I sat down to take my morning alms, and the Swaminatha was sat behind me. This is the beauty of a noble association. This is what we have come to the Sasana for. As the Swaminatha was sat next to me, and we did our pratyaksha, and I said, Appehandana, hold on a second. I told him, all you have in your arms, Paul, is energy. Anything and everything else that's going to happen from here on is merely evidence that chittas arise and pass away. That's it. I said, think about that and continue with your meal. He's my student. So I gave him that advice. Because I was thinking the same thing. But what do you normally talk about around the dinner table? With your mouth full? Nice, no? See, that's why you don't see us going for seconds. Because I have to be mindful about how much I need. When I go for the first serving, I need to know how much I need. It's not like I'm learning to understand the capacity of my stomach, right? I've been eating for the last 40 odd years of my life. Today's not the first time I'm going to eat. So I know how much energy I need for the rest of the day. Is that rocket science? If I know what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the evening, right, for the rest of the day, then I know how much energy I need because I've been doing this for the last more than 30 years. So I know how much energy I need. I know when the tank is full. So I know when to stop. So even when you serve alms, dear ladies and gentlemen, I see energy. If I stopped at all the energy that I needed, by the time 3 or 4 of you have served, I will hold my hand and say, that's it, I don't want any more. But I continue out of compassion because all of you want to serve something. Because you all want to engage in that meritorious activity. So you've seen what our alms bowls looks like right at the end, right? Sometimes I wish the alms bowls came with pockets. Because you want to serve. That's because you like to do merits and you want to offer something to the Swaminathan. So you think I can eat all that? What do you think, I'm a baby elephant? I could probably eat 1/10 of that. 1/10, honestly speaking. Maybe 1/10 of that I can eat. So now you're wondering what happens to the rest of it. I will you take it back to the monastery. And then there are a lot of people who come in to help at the monastery. So that gives me an opportunity to do the same that you have done, which is to give. So we pass on the gift. And they're ever so grateful for that. Because in their minds, I think, oh, this is food that has been served to Swami Maharaj. Good God, should I take it? Should I have it? I say, no, it's fine. As long as you practice the path, right? Because that is what this food has been offered for someone with purely the intention that may this food help you with your practice. Isn't that the thought that you have in your mind when you offer it? Ayuvanna sappa bala patibana. That is the only thing that you have in mind when you offer it. May this give you vitality, may this give you energy, may this give you good health, and may this give you the power of wisdom. That is what you're offering. So if that is what has been offered into my alms bowl, I remind the person who's going to have it, I can give you some of this if you can promise me that you will only do what you're supposed to do by taking this meal. If you can promise me that, then you are also privy to having some of this meal. So then make a determination. I will not conduct myself in any manner that is not fitting with someone who has taken this meal. I can only eat 1/10 of it, which you must have seen the day that we all came here and took alms in the morning. Remember? There was a bucket full of food. The day Guru Handru arrived, and I think there was 10 of us, and you served our alms bowls, and there was all of our monks had been served, and there was still food left over. So none of it goes to waste, because I know the devotion with which you offer it. So not a single grain of rice goes to waste. That much I can promise you. Because I, for one, am completely against waste. You must ask the people at the monastery. I'm very particular about that. Waste is a big no-no. Electricity, whether it's water, whether it's food, whether it's resources, big no-no. Can't waste. Even if there's a rubber band on the ground, whoever sees it must pick it up and put it to a side, because it can be used for something. And why is that? Well, it's because, for one, waste is not something we should do anyway, whether it's easily earned or hardly earned. Hard-earned or easy-earned doesn't matter. Waste is not something we ought to do, because this is energy. Right? And secondly, we are sustained by our devotees. 100%. Actually, by now, I don't think there's a single cell that is within me that was made out of food that I had earned out of making my own living. I've been a monk for the last 8 or so years, maybe a little bit longer than that. So I presume by this point, all of my cells have been replaced, and all of this is ping. Each of these cells must be now cells produced out of energy that you have offered. And all the devotees that would have fed me from the day that I ordained myself came into robes. So we understand fully well that you're not offering just because you have. You're offering because most of you are offering your hard-earned wealth, righteously earned, but very hard-earned. Money don't grow on trees. And I, having been someone who's worked, I understand that nothing comes easy. So as a mark of respect and recognition of that, we don't waste at the monastery. So if ever there you see signs of waste, then you must inform. That's Swami Nohanse at the monastery. If you ever see that there's anything being wasted, sometimes you can't bring it down to zero, like food, for example. We have visitors every day. So when people serve themselves, sometimes, they don't know how much they need. And then some of that food goes into the bins. But at least amongst ourselves, our monks and children and the anagarikas and the anagarikas, we have come to a collective consensus that we shall not waste. Anyway, that's another matter. What were we talking about? How did we get there? Yes. So when you take your dinner, you have to contemplate this truth. You have to contemplate. So I was explaining to you that when you see color in an object, at that point, ladies and gentlemen, you are failing to see that you are nothing more than a Chitta. Because if color is a Chitta, if color is Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, if this is the process that gives rise to color, then color, by virtue of that, color cannot exist in the outside world, right? Yes? So if you're mindful of this process, if you're insightfully aware of this process, then by virtue of that, you must also be aware that color is not something that exists in the outside world. Now look at the converse of that. So then if someone thinks that color exists in the outside world, what are they ignorant of right now? This process. Because these two things are mutually exclusive. You can't think that you are a Chitta as well as think that color is in the outside world. Those two things can't happen together. Does that make sense to everyone? I'll repeat that. You can't be in both camps at the same time. Which two camps? That you are nothing more than a Chitta, and then to also think that color, sound, smell, taste, these things exist in the outside world. You can't be in both camps at the same time because they're mutually exclusive. Because when you understand that you are a Chitta, then where does sound exist? In the Chitta. Smell? Chitta. Taste? Chitta. Touch? Chitta. Sight? Chitta. It's all in the Chitta. It's all in the mind. So someone who understands that and appreciates that would not in the same Chitta, at the very least, think that these sensory experiences come to you from the outside world, right? They cannot exist together. So then that's what I mean. Whenever you think, when you see a flower, right? You see this flower. You look at this flower. As you look at this flower, and when you think to yourself that this color exists in this flower, that is a moment where you have bidden farewell to Nibbana. Because at that moment, you exist, the flower exists, and color exists in the flower. So you're talking about existence now. How can Nibbana be the same as existence? Nibbāna is the absence of existence. Sabba sankhara samatho. That is Nibbāna. So if your sankhara, if your mind processes tell you that here's a flower, you are the observer is observing the flower that exists in the three-dimensional space out here, and it is what? Pink or whatever. At that moment, you have completely ignored everything you've learned. Blind as a bat. So how does one come to awareness then? What is awareness then? When you come back to awareness, when you come back to appreciate, hold on a second. I don't exist, so there's no observer. There's no observer. Observation happens, but there's no observer. There's no observer. Observation happens. So seeing happens, but there's no seer. Is that even a word? We invent things as we go along anyway, right? Yeah. Seer, not seer, seer. There's only seeing but no seer. Means there's only doing but no doer. See, when you understand that there's only seeing, now you understand that seeing is something that happens in the Chitta. So if pink is something that you see, then that pink has only happened and occurred in the mind, meaning it cannot be out here. So then why would you pick this flower and desire to keep it with you just because it's pink, when pink is the least or is the last thing that this flower is? Pink is the last thing that this flower is. Do you know what it smells like? Would you like to smell this flower? Why are you giggling at that now? Why do you giggle at that? Because what do you know? Because now you're in your right mind. Now you're in your right mind because you know that smell does not exist in the flower. But let's go back home after the sermon. We are now back home. Some of your friends come around to see you and they bring with you a bouquet of flowers. People go to each other's homes with flowers, don't they? So they bring flowers. What are you supposed to do at the moment someone gives you some flowers? Let's be honest. Ladies, come on. When someone gives you some flowers, what are you supposed to do? Hold it close to you and smell it. And say what? Say what? No smell at all. What are you supposed to say? That it smells wonderful. And they look beautiful. And then tell them how thoughtful. See, these are the things that you're supposed to do in the world that you live in. Right? If you're here now, you have to play by the rules of the game. Do you see how much disparity there is between what's really going on and what people make out the world to be? If someone brought you a bunch of flowers, right, and you just took it to your hand and just put it to a side, just like that, without even smelling it or at least saying that it looks beautiful, what would be their reaction? How ungrateful. After all the effort that I put in to find the most beautiful flowers, and having wrapped it all up and brought it to you, you couldn't even appreciate the gesture by at least smelling it. Huh? Now just imagine if you go back home and your mother's baked the cake for you. She thinks you like cake, right? You go home and she's baked cake for you. Now you know that all there is energy. Right? And just before you go, they give you energy anyway at Rajagiriya, right? Don't they give you energy at the end of the sermon? So that's what they give you energy. Now you know that there is enough energy to last you for the rest of the day. Let's assume that. Okay? So now you go home and there's a cake baked for you. Mother's cooked a cake. As you enter, you get the aroma and you know there's a cake. What is the one thing that if you don't do, your mother's never going to look at your face again? At least not for another couple of days. Tell me. Now, you must walk into the kitchen. You must walk into the kitchen and ask the mother, what? Amma, did you bake a cake? Have you baked a cake? It smells? What's the word? Nice. There's no way out of it. There is. There is. But then, I'm just beating a dead horse. There is a way out of it. You never offer things to Swami Nuhanses and expect Swami Nuhanses to tell you, no, night, really nice. You don't expect that from Swami Nuhanses, do you? You don't expect the Swami Nuhanse to look at your offering of a cake or whatever it is and say, no, really nice. How did you make that? I mean, frankly, if Swami Nuhanse did that, what would you do? You would run a mile. Because you don't know the next thing he might say. Because first he says your food is nice, next thing he says you are nice. So you don't expect that from a Swami Nuhanse. See, I'm free of that burden now. So when you come dressed nicely to Rajagiriya or to come to the monastery, I don't have to say, Madam, you look very nice today. I don't have to. Because you don't expect that from Swami Nuhanse. But in the world out there, people expect all of that and more from you. Even now, if you have begun to understand the truths of the world, you still have to play by the old rules. You still have to play by the old rules. Otherwise, you will become a social piranha. You will become a social misfit. They will tell you that I don't know, something's happened to you. You've shorted a wire or something. And then they'll tell you, don't go to the Sunday sermons again. Because now you can no longer appreciate the beauty of a flower. You can't appreciate the beauty of a cake. You can't appreciate the beauty of a rose. They will tell you that you are completely screwed up. Swami Nuhanse screwed you up. Don't go there again. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you have to play a double game now. Sorry. See, in hindsight, you shouldn't have come to these sermons, right? In hindsight. What was the biggest mistake you made in your life? Choosing to come here. Because now you have begun to see the world in a very different perspective, and yet you have to go and live in the old world. Yeah? So there's a huge disparity between the two. You have to appreciate color when you see it. You have to appreciate smell when you smell it. When people make an effort, you have to appreciate all those things, knowing fully well that they don't actually have any of those things, and they're only expressing their own vexations. When someone draws a picture and brings it to you, what must you say? Come on, what must you say? It looks amazing. Looks nice. When you know that it is only an expression of their vexation, how can you appreciate someone's vexation? I mean, come on, how heartless can you be? Isn't an artist someone who does not know to appreciate the beauty of a blank canvas? What do you think? Who is an artist? Who is an artist? Someone who doesn't understand how to appreciate the beauty of a blank canvas. When they see a blank canvas, they're vexed. It's not how I want it to be. There's not enough variety. It's not separate. It's all one. Can't have it like that. So I must draw. So then they start drawing patterns because they don't appreciate the beauty of a blank canvas. So they take their paintbrush and they start drawing. And then when they feel that their vexation has been released because they think that it's beautiful, now they bring it to you for similar compliments. And if at that point you say, what's that? You call that art? Would they agree with you? They won't agree with you. They will just think that you're being very unkind. So to be kind in society, what must you do? Here's what you must do. Please forgive me, okay? Here's what you must do to be considered kind in society. You must appreciate people's expression of their vexation. This is the place you call home. This is the place you call home? When someone doesn't like the way they smell, what must I do? And you can't smell the same every day, right? From time to time, you have to try out different things. If that is not an expression of their vexation, what is? I understand this body odor and all that, and you have to combat that. That I understand, because there's bacteria growing all over the place, and they start producing these smells, right? And that I understand. But that's not the only reason why people wear perfume. That's not the only. In fact, that is probably the last reason that people wear perfume. You've got deodorant for that. But perfume is something more than that. Now, having said all this, you're probably not going to come to worship me from here on. Because now I think, I can't go to Swami, he's going to know that I have worn perfume and then he's going to think badly of me. No, please understand that I'm not here to. That's what I said right at the beginning. My job is not to judge. I am not a judge. I'm only your guide, I'm only a teacher. I really hope you understand this, folks. Because if you think that I'm judging here, then you will run a mile, you won't come back here again. That's okay, then I won't have to come here either. But if you don't come here, then what's going to happen to your Nibbāna? If you can learn and study and practice your Nibbāna elsewhere, then that's perfectly fine. But if you think that this is perhaps the only place that you can get it, or at least the only place that you know you can get it, then I don't want to antagonize you. And I really hope that's not what I am doing here, because that is not my intention. But I will not leave any stone unturned, if that's okay. Is that okay? Can I open all those drawers? And all those cupboards? All those lockers? In the deep, dark corners of your mind? Is that okay? So, from next Sunday, will you come without any perfume? Don't do that. You put on your best. You wear your perfume and you come here. As a monk, I don't have to. Because you don't come close to me. Because my body is the same as your body. When I sweat, I sweat. I'm only human, just like anyone else. But people don't come that close to me, so it's okay. No one comes to hug me. But such is not the case for you. You must always be huggable. Mustn't you? You must always remain huggable, right? Who knows when someone might want to come and give you a hug? And then when they put their arms around you, or you have to put their arms around them. If they faint, so you have to wear your perfume. I understand that, but that's what I'm saying. Let's have an open-minded conversation. I really hope there are no doors that you keep locked to me. But these are not personal conversations. This is a collective conversation. So I'm not talking about any one of you specifically. I'm talking about the general human condition. If this fits you, then so be it. If this is not what you are like, ignore it. But if you keep some doors closed, I say, no, don't enter that one, please. It hurts, it really hurts. Don't enter that one. That is my personal space. Talk about sight, Swaminatha, talk about sound, Swaminatha, just don't talk about sound, or don't talk about taste, and don't really talk about touch. Right? I'm very precious about that, and that's a very sensitive topic for me. Please don't talk about that. The thing is, the more doors you keep closed to the Dhamma, remember, behind closed doors, demons lurk. What do you do in the morning as soon as you wake up? You draw the curtains and you let sunlight flood into your living rooms, don't you? Yeah. But at night, what do? You draw all the curtains, you close the curtains. Because at night, demons take over. Don't they? At night, demons take over. Demons take over your living room. Demons take over your bedroom. But in the morning, you draw the curtains and you let sunlight in. So now it's open for people to see. Now it doesn't matter because light has entered. Now there's light. So that's what I mean. Behind closed doors, demons lurk. These are the demons that are going to keep you bound and wound to samsara. I genuinely think that you are keen and you are desirous and you are really going for Nibbana. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Actually, the best way to convince me that you are not is by not showing up. But if you're here, I have to treat you as my own. If I had a child, this is every word I tell you, I would share with them. If I had a son, everything I would tell my son, I would share with every gentleman in this room. If I had a daughter, every word I would share with my daughter, I would share with every lady in this room. This is hand on heart, the honest truth. Because when it comes to this, you are children. And to my teacher, I'm a child. To his teacher, he's a child. And to his teacher, he's a child. So there's only ultimately one father who has no father. He's the father. But from there on, everyone's a child. I mean, this is how I see you. Is that okay? Or am I overstepping the mark? If I am, you must let me know. Am I overdoing it? Is this not what you wanted from Sunday's morning sermons? Or did you just want a Jataka story? Then no holes barred, no stones unturned, no doors locked. Please do not enter, do not disturb. I will ignore the do not disturb signs. Your presence here is loud enough a call to me, Swaminatha, as you please. But at the same time, whenever I use an example, I want you to know that this is not me thinking of some one of you individually and talking about you. You must understand that for now and forever. It is never going to be like that. Because I don't talk about individuals. Why? There are no such things called individuals to talk about. There's consciousness. There's minds. And minds are infatuated by defilements. Minds are affected by defilements. Minds are healed by wisdom. Not you, minds. So this is a conversation between wisdom and ignorance. That is all this is. Our victory is our collective victory. That is our victory. At the end of this program, I don't mean today, at the end of this program, at the end of this whatever it is we are doing here, it's going to be how many for the Buddha, how many for Mara. We take score at the end. The number of you who have been able to come out of the veil of ignorance, open those doors and let the wisdom of light flood into your hearts and your minds, and have begun to see the world as it really is, those are all scores against the Buddha. And for those who still remain where they started, those will still be Mara's property. Meaning, you will remain in samsara. My days are numbered. The only difference is, I don't know when that is. I just don't know what that number is. That's not to say that my days are not numbered. Yeah? My days are numbered. Someone somewhere knows the number. I don't. That doesn't mean that they're not numbered. So this conversation has to come to an end one day. At the end of each Sunday, we've been putting a comma. To be continued, to be continued, to be continued, to be continued. Everywhere there's been a comma. One day there's going to be a comma, and later we're going to find out actually that was not a comma after all. What was it? A full stop. So you'll find that out the following Sunday. That was not a comma. That was a full stop, wasn't it? Oh. So you will say. That's going to happen, So time is of the essence here. Time which does not exist is still of the essence here. And that is because your bodies can only sustain yourselves for so long. This body can only sustain itself for so long because this is only energy. And that is only energy. Energy that comes together is always prepared to disperse. Because energy can only be put together and kept together because of a necessity. That is what it is. That's why they say necessity is the mother of invention. Invention, actually, ladies and gentlemen, nothing was ever invented. All that happened was energy got put together in a certain way. That's all that ever happened. What is this? You call it a fan. What is it really? Energy put together in this order. There was a necessity for this characteristic. This is a characteristic. The fact that it can do this, it's a characteristic. Of this combination, this arrangement of energy can do that. Here's something it cannot do. For that, you've got to put energy together like this. This is energy, this is also energy. There's no difference other than that. On the plate in the video was what? Energy. What about the arm reaching out to grab those chips? What was that? Energy. What about the mouth into which those crisps were put into? Energy. What about the body that was digesting it? Energy. And what about the cells that were going to be made out of it? Energy. So what is there in this world if it's not energy? Nothing. Are you so unique then? What's so unique about you? What's so special about you? What makes you think you are special? That's your sense of self. That's the thing. You are not any more special than the person sat next to you. This is not out of modesty you have to accept this. Let's be clear about that also. Because you can be modest about that, right? Like, I'm not special. I'm just a normal, average person, just like anyone else. It's not modesty I'm talking about here. Modesty is not the same as equanimity. Modesty is one. Modesty is it's a virtue. Right? It's nice to be modest. People appreciate that. People like that. Modesty is always a virtue. People appreciate that. Right? It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter how rich or how educated you are, how powerful you are. You must be able to get along with everyone. But typically when people do that, they do it out of modesty. Because they have been taught modesty. Modesty has been taught to us as a value. Has it not? Didn't your teachers and your parents teach you that, modesty? Take your father, for example. If he was the chief of an organization and he perhaps took you into his workplace, right? He might have greeted each member of staff that he came across with, good morning. Good morning was always reciprocated. And then perhaps he taught you a lesson, Putta. Did you say that? Did you realize something? I'm the boss of this company. I don't need to say good morning to anyone. But it is part of their responsibility to greet me because I'm senior and they're junior. But I don't do that, Putta. Do you know why, Putta? He might have asked you. And he would have said, we have to be modest in our behavior, in our conduct. We must not think ourselves superior to others. But that didn't stop you from feeling that way. That didn't stop you from feeling that way, that you were superior. It didn't. Because your sense of superiority is an extension of your sense of self and all the drushti that you get from the world around you. See, there was a time, wasn't there, where white people thought they were superior to black people. Perhaps in certain parts of the world, they still feel that way. And then there was a whole program about, let's not feel that way, let's not think that way, let's treat everyone as one, right? We're all brothers, right? That alone does not fix the problem, ladies and gentlemen, because your sense of self always demands a sense of superiority. It is characteristic of the sense of self. You can't extract that and keep the self. I'm sorry to say, what I'm really trying to say, get across to you is, there's no refuge other than the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. You cannot completely be immune to the sense of superiority if you have a sense of self. But you can be modest. That you can. It's like patience. Patience is a virtue. So we can learn to be patient. But to have to be patient is a punishment. Don't you agree? Who here enjoys being patient? Oh, I love to be patient. Who says that? That's the last thing on your agenda. You really don't want to be patient. When you feel like you want something, don't you just want to go and grab it, have it your way? But we live in a society where we cannot just do whatever we like. Right? We have to be patient. When you're in a queue, where's the position you want to be in a queue? Which position would you like to hold in a queue? Now you're at the bank. There are 10 people in the queue. Which position would you like? 6? Then? First, of course. Who here enjoys anything other than first? Unless they paid you for queuing. Well, there you go. The position that anyone likes is first. You can't help that. You can't help it. It's part of your condition. It's your conditioning. You can't eradicate that and keep the sense of self because it's an extension of your sense of self. Please accept that. Please accept that so you understand that there is no hope other than extermination of your sense of self. That's why pahaya jati sansarang. The eradication of your jati is the only solution, ladies and gentlemen. Guru Handru in last Sunday's sermon, I heard him speaking to all of you. He said, you have all these problems, but after all, there's only one problem. And that is your sense of separation, your sense of self. Because every other problem is an extension of that. Every other mental vexation is an extension of that. So to try and quell these other sentiments, these other expectations, these other vexations while keeping your sense of self is a bit like this. Is to hold a turd in your hand and then chase the flies away. Is that going to work? But the moment you chase flies on this side and turn the other side, what's those flies going to do again? They're going to come back. There's only one answer. You have to work your way out of your sense of self. But for that you have to understand first that your sense of self is your curse. Don't take pride in your sense of self. You can't kick your sense of self out, your ego, you can't kick it out. You can't just abandon it somewhere. You can't just hide and run away. You can't do that. You can't go and lock it in a room and quickly run away. You can't do that. You can't drown yourself out of your sense of self, your ego. You can't grow out of it. Why can't you do any of these things? Why can't you? Why can't you just lock it in a room and run away? Because where is it produced? Exactly. Wherever your mind is, your sense of self is there. Because your mind actively generates it. Your mind actively generates it. Your mind is a self-generator. In the presence of ignorance and attachment, your mind is no longer just a mind. It's a sense of self. It's an ego generator. Each chitta as it arises generates a sense of self. And each chitta that generates a sense of self has by extension all these other psychological issues, stress, anxiety, depression, distrust, ill will, lack of hope. All of these are extensions of that. Guilt, fear, anger, greed, jealousy, all of these things. These are merely numerous manifestations of your extension of the sense of self. I'm sorry to say, folks, I don't see another answer. I don't see another solution. It's as if, imagine this whole room was sealed and someone dropped a smoke bomb and there was only one exit, and that was a keyhole. The only way out of this room, imagine, was just a keyhole, right? Someone dropped a bomb in here, not just any old smoke bomb, actually it's a bomb. It's going to go off in a bit. Aren't you going to look at that keyhole and actually at least try, how can I get out of that keyhole? If that's the only exit. As impossible as it may seem, it's only a keyhole. How on earth can I get out of that keyhole? But if that's the only exit, likewise, Nibbāna is the only exit. I wish there was another. I understand that in some instances it feels like I'm asking an elephant to walk into a molehill. And I appreciate that. Sometimes it might feel like that. You're an elephant, you're the size of an elephant, and I'm expecting you to walk into a molehill. It's not a mountain. I expect you to walk into a molehill. Or it's as if like trying to ask you to balance yourself on the edge of a blade. It seems impossible, but it's not. People before you have done this. People after you will do this. So what about people you? If before you have done, after you will do, what about people you? You have to do this. Natti me saranang anya. There is no other refuge. That is why when the sasana clarion call, when you hear the clarion call of the sasana, you must feel yourself ignited. You must feel like that is the voice that I've always been waiting for. That is the calling, the divine calling that I've always been waiting for. I invite you, ladies and gentlemen, associate with the Mahasangha. Time is of the essence. Associate with the Mahasangha. They are your only hope. The Mahasangha doesn't always come clad in a robe. The Sangha is anyone who has seen the light, anyone who has understood the truth, anyone who begins to, at least has begun to see that color is not in your carrot. But then you know what the drill is going to be as you get back home tonight and you sit around the dining table. You're not going to hear what the Swaminathan next to me heard this morning from the Swaminathan who sat next to him. You're going to hear someone saying, "That's nice, isn't it? Would you like some more?" The pastor could have done with a bit of extra cheese, couldn't it? When you order your pizza, nothing wrong with ordering pizza, but when you order a pizza, how many conversations do you have around that? I mean, it's not a conversation, it's a discussion, isn't it? People have solved global problems quicker and sooner than the problem about what you're going to order when you order your pizza. Yes or no? Is it going to be ham and pineapple? Is it going to be cheese and onion? Is it going to be pepperoni? Is it going to be half and half? Because now you can get all sorts. Is it going to be sausage crust? Is it going to be extra cheesy? Shall we get two? No, but there's a buy one, get one free. Would you like some fries with it? Shall we get some, I don't want to say any brand name, so shall we get a bottle of whatever with it? See? That's not a conversation, that's a discussion. What are you talking about? Trying to solve global problems. At the end of that conversation, what's happened? Global warming has been solved? World food shortage has been solved? No, the only thing that has actually happened is this. The delivery boy arrives at your door, goes knock, knock, knock. You open the door and he says, energy. What if you ordered a different combination? A different combination to the one that you did. What if you ordered a different combination? Then the boy arrives at the door and he goes knock, knock, knock. You open the door and what does he say now? You say it out loud. What does he say? Energy. Because that is all he delivers. That is all he delivers. But what did you order? There are a plethora of combinations that you can order, can't there? Isn't there? See how they have taken you for a run. I mean, I don't mind seeing dogs chasing behind their tails, ladies and gentlemen, but you don't do that. It doesn't look very dignified when you do that. When you keep going round in circles and circles and circles and circles, doing nonsensical, useless things, which is and things that waste your time, because it's not time that you waste, as Guru Handro always rants about this. It's not time that people waste, it's life. There's no such thing called time to waste. We think that we waste time, but it's not time that you waste, it's life that you waste. Because we now refer to as time, it doesn't feel like much. It's only an hour. An hour of time has been wasted. That's just a news flash. We've just wasted an hour of our time. Okay. So what? It's just an hour of our time, that's all. But the truth is, you wasted an hour of your life. That life you never get back. And that life was not there to waste. That life was there for you to understand these truths. But how many hours have you now, by this point in life, wasted just discussing what pizza you're going to have? Not actually eating the pizza. Because eating the pizza is useful. Because you can take energy. But discussing the pizza. How many hours have you wasted discussing your pizza? Discussing what you're going to have for dinner? Don't you feel that all these discussions are just a waste of time? After all, if all you're going to have is energy? When they bring the menu out to you at a restaurant, what should they really have on it? Item number 1, Chinese energy. Number 2, Indian energy. Number 3, Mongolian energy. Number 4, local style Sri Lankan energy. Shouldn't that be what they should have? Isn't that what they should have on the menu? But what do they really have? They give you food for discussion. And you fall for it. You fall for it. They give you ammunition for discussion. This is ammunition and you fall for it, folks. You fall for it. Please come to your senses. Don't fall for that trap. When they bring you that menu card, you should simply be able to say, not Swaminathan. Peta Mahatya. Bring me anything that gives me energy, because I have come here for energy. That is all you should have to say. I admit, so then you might ask, well, why should I go to the restaurant for that? We have it at home. Exactly. I'll let you work that out. See, that's why you don't see me at the restaurant anymore. Not because I'm a monk. I'm not going to get, thrown behind bars just because I go to a restaurant. It's not against the law for a Swaminathan to go to a restaurant. I could do. And I could even think to myself, well, I don't care whatever you think. You think whatever you want, I'll go to the restaurant. But that's not why I don't go to the restaurant. I don't go to the restaurant because there's no longer a need to go looking for variety, because all I need is energy, and you give me ample of it. I can eat what's in my arms bowl with my eyes closed, ladies and gentlemen. Can you do the same? Frankly, I can eat what you put in my arms bowl with my eyes closed. As long as you can vouch that you're not going to put in anything that is going to cause me physical harm. Because I'm not done with my job yet. I still have a way to go. So for that, I need to sustain myself. I need to remain alive. And so as long as you can promise me that you're not going to put in anything into that arms bowl that is going to cause me harm, I can eat with my eyes closed. Chop my tongue off and see if I care. Because I don't eat it for taste. I don't eat it because it smells nice. I don't eat it because it looks nice. I eat it because it's energy, because I eat. You don't. You entertain. That's what I have a problem with. That is what I have a problem with. I don't mind whatever you eat. Eat whatever you like. Eat whatever, not what you like. Eat whatever you need. Eat what you need. The problem is that you don't stop at eating. You entertain with food. That's a problem. And that's no small problem. That's a huge problem. To be frank, it's the biggest problem that you're going to have to overcome. The other day I was talking to one of our Swaminahansis and I said, Andrane, see, is it not evidence to you that to give up your attachment for a woman is much less hard than to give up attachment to food? Because when we became monks, at that point we had to be okay with giving up having a woman in our lives, right? Yeah? We were okay, we had to be okay with continuing the rest of our lives without having a woman. But there's nothing that says you have to be okay without food, or without taste, without the search for deliciousness. That is not part and parcel of me becoming a monk. It becomes the purpose of my monkhood. But to become one, it is not a prerequisite. But I have to be okay to live without a woman to become a monk. So which one do you think is harder? That's my point. That's why I'm talking about food to you today. My invitation to you, ladies and gentlemen, is to eat with your eyes open. You only eat with your mouth open. That's not enough. Eat with your eyes open from now on. What do I mean by eyes here? Not these physical eyes. Yes, your mind's eye. Eat with your eyes open from now on. So that at least one step at a time, one tiny inch at a time, you can come out of this problem that you have got yourselves in. I know many of you will confess that you have a problem with food. It's not an unusual problem, it's a very common problem. In fact, that is more than 80% as to why you're still in a sensual world. It's your attachment to food. So I'm showing you where you can start your journey. Gentlemen, giving up on a woman is much less harder to do than giving up on your attachment to taste. Ladies, the same goes for you as well. It's much less harder to do. So if you are still stuck at, I can't let go of my woman, Swami, how can I come to Swasana? Well then, you still have a very, 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 very long way to go before we even start tackling food. It's once you jump over that barrier, then you begin to see the size of the problem. That is why I invite our young people, either before you get into that relationship where you are bound to an individual, and then it's very difficult to come out of that. If you're still there, if you're still on the fence, try and jump on the right side, not to the wrong side. Because once those obligations have been made, once those responsibilities have been taken on, once the dotted line has been signed, it is very difficult to withdraw. It's like shooting a bullet out of your gun. Once the trigger has been pulled, it's very difficult now to reverse the damage. How fast can you run to catch a bullet in flight? That's the best analogy I can give. Once you sign that dotted line, once you get into that commitment, it's as if you pull the trigger. Now before it goes and hits the target, you've got to run and catch it. That's the best analogy I can give you. That's why I invite our young people here, both ladies and gents. If you have the opportunity, there are bigger demons to tackle. There are much bigger fish to fry. There's a huge world of problems to solve there if you are still hiding behind a woman. Or if you still find your peace in world around a man's arms. When are you going to get to Nibbāna? That is what I ask of you. When are you going to get to Nibbana? Well, one could say, well, there's going to be Maitri Buddha, I heard. Yes. Yes, there's going to be Maitri Buddha, yes. I didn't know that you were waiting for him. If only I'd known. You think the Maitri Buddha is going to come and give you an easier time? You think he's going to come and say, Yo imasming dhamma vine, little by little vihesati. Not appamatto vihesati. You think that's what the Maitri Buddha is going to come and say? As in, you don't have to be diligent, you don't have to be fervent in your practice, you don't have to be determined in your practice, just do it casually. Then pahaya jayati sansarang, as and when. You think that's what the Maitri Buddha is going to say? Their teachings are identical to the letter. Their teachings are identical to the letter. Whatever this Buddha has taught, the next Buddha will teach the same. When it comes to the Dhamma, the Vinaya might be different. Different sasanas, different dispensations, they have different rules and so on. But that is because that is taught and prescribed depending on the need of the hour. That's why the Buddha didn't lay it all down at once. For the first 20 years, there were no rules laid down for the monks, because everyone who came to the sasana was very determined, very self-disciplined. They knew what they were coming in for, and most of them were royals. Most of them were the king's descendants. Most of them were young princes. Today people think that the sasana is a place where people should go and seek refuge, not that kind of refuge, but refuge because they have nowhere to go, no one to look after, they have got the boot, right, or nothing to eat, no one to look after them, or somewhere they can go and take shelter when they're older. It's become an old people's home or an orphanage. That's what people think the sasana is today. A trash can. That's what people think the sasana is today, a trash can. It's not a trash can, ladies and gentlemen, it's a treasure chest. I know, ask me. It's a treasure chest, not a trash can. That's why back in the day, the first 20 years, there were no rules laid down by the Buddha, because everyone who came in there, they had experienced what life was. They were full of merit power. They were royals, they were princes, they were emperors, they were kings. So they were steadfast. They knew what they wanted. They'd gone looking for pleasure, they'd gone looking for delight, they'd gone looking for happiness. In every other avenue they had gone on pursuit, but they had realized that by that point, nope, nowhere to be found. But the Buddha speaks something, he says something, let's go listen to him. They heard his voice, they heard his words, they understood. They didn't have to give up. It happened. It happened. The crown prince walked out of the palace looking for the truth. He was going to be the next king. He listened to the Buddha's words and realized that there is no such thing called a king. That there was no such thing called a palace. That there was no such thing called a kingdom. They were all creations of the mind. That was his realization. So that is what I mean. The sasana is here, it's thriving. The sasana is thriving. It's potent. It's vibrant. It's full of energy. It's buzzing with energy. And it's ripe for the plucking. You have it. It's here. It's now. The Maitri Buddha is not going to come and say any different to what the Gautam Buddha preached. It's the same story. It's the same essence. It's the same truth. If it's the truth, then it has to be the truth from every Buddha. So that's what I mean, folks. Make this part of your practice. Make this part of your practice. When you have your meal tonight, for your sake, practice. Don't be like that person in the video. For them, it's entertainment. But if that's the way they make a living, then so be it. I don't mind. Once again, I'm not mocking them, not pointing fingers at them. I'm not criticizing them because it's not my job to criticize anyone. I'm not a critique. I come with compassion. But let them do what they're doing. You shouldn't be the victims of that, right? I mean, if you find yourselves subscribing to those channels and sitting there watching those things, and if that becomes your entertainment, then there's a problem there. Let's admit, there's a problem there. That means food has become something more than food. It's something more than energy now, and it's become entertainment to you. Come out of that thinking. It's flawed thinking. Food is energy and nothing more than that. That's why I said, promise yourself from here on. Please have a second check at your shopping list before you go shopping. Before you pull that trolley out and start walking down the aisles. Try and get into the habit of putting that list together and then checking it with your insight and asking yourself, do I really need these things? Is this energy that I'm going for? Or is it sight I'm going for? Is it color I'm going for? Is it sound? Is it smell? Is it taste I'm going for? Is that what I want from my food? Then it's not food anymore. You're not going food shopping. You might as well go to the cinema. Because that's entertainment shopping, not food shopping. Am I not speaking the truth? Then it cannot be food shopping you're doing. So if you're going food shopping, if you're genuinely going food shopping, then do what I ask you to do. Do it a couple of times. Then you get the hang of it. Then you begin to realize, I see what Swami Mahansa said. My, I didn't realize. Take last week's shopping if you can find it. Some of you keep a record of your shopping lists. Take last week's shopping list when you get back home. Have a look at that. And then do that ticking exercise that I just talked to you about a few minutes ago. And then ask yourself, what was that all about? Look at your fridge, look at your freezer when you get back home. Open those cupboards and look in there and to see what you have there. Is that food or is that entertainment? Because if it's entertainment, you're a long way from Nibbana. That's the only problem. If you're not serious about Nibbana, no problem at all. Because you haven't stolen it, you haven't hurt anyone, right? You haven't nicked it from someone, right? You haven't broken the bank, you haven't broken the shops, you have been very fair and square with your purchases, right? It's hard-earned money and it's yours. Fair enough. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing unrighteous. So then we don't need to have this conversation. But if you're saying, Swami Mahansa, I want Nibbana, can you help me get there? Then I have to ask you, check your shopping list. Is that food or is that entertainment? I only have that conversation because you come here and say, Swami Mahansa, Nibbana, please. Then I say, check your shopping list, please. Is that a fair or unfair call? I can't live with you, you know that, right? I mean, I can't be by your side all the time. But I hope these words will be. I can't be a noble friend to you the moment you leave this building. Then you're in the wild, wild west. You're in the wild after that. I care about you, I love you, but that's as far as I can go. You know, just as much as a mother loves her child, as soon as the child is born, right, it could be that for 9 long months the mother has nourished and nurtured and looked after this little thing. But what do the doctors do? They cut the umbilical cord. Now the child has to sustain itself. You remember, right? Parents, mothers? You know this happened. Look just below your chest when you get back home. There's evidence of that. That's the place where you were connected to your mother. But it's no longer connected, right? So there came a point where you had to sustain yourself. While you were in your mother's womb, your mother could be careful about what went into you, because what she ate was what went into you. She watched out for you, she looked after you. She was very careful with what she put into herself, because she knew whatever she puts into her goes into you. She was very careful around who you were hanging. So she didn't hang around the wrong kind of people. When there was a smoker, she walked away, meaning she walked you away. That's what she did. When there was a fight, when there was an argument and it was getting heated, she walked away because she was worried. What if one of those punches lands on her womb, on her stomach? So she walked away, meaning she walked you away. That's what she did. She protected you. But then you were not satisfied with all that. You wanted to have it your way. So you popped out and said, you know what, I want to do it my way. I want independence. So you came out. And at that moment, they severed your connection to her, and then it was down to you, survival of the fittest. So then you were in the jungle, among other beasts, among other competitors. You had to fend for yourself, you had to feed for yourself. It's the same drill over again, even in the sasana. While you're here, while you're at the monastery, while you're amongst noble association, that is what the monastery is. You back in the mother's womb. I don't know where all these analogies are coming from today. I mean, it's the perfect analogy. At the monastery, that's like being back in the mother's womb. But outside those walls, outside these walls, you're out there. Fend for yourself, folks. Fend for yourselves. Watch out. Keep guard. Put on your best coat of armor. Make sure it's solid. Because you don't know from where the next dagger, the next sword is going to come at you from. You know I'm talking about drushti. You know I'm talking about drushti. The next person that comes up to you and says, hey, there's a nice place in town, new restaurant, they've opened, shall we go? They said the food is really nice. What is that? What is that? Let's go entertain ourselves. What they're really doing is saying, let's anchor ourselves into samsara. That's what they're saying. Let's anchor ourselves to samsara. The Maitri Buddha's coming, apparently. What's the rush? Yes, the Maitri Buddha's coming. I mean, I don't know. If you want to wait, just hang around till the Maitri Buddha comes and saves you, then okay. Give him my regards. Say I said hi. And also tell him that I told you so. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, I have love for you. I don't know whether I'm expressing it right or wrong. I don't know whether I'm saying things I shouldn't be saying. I don't know whether I'm hurting your feelings. I don't know whether I'm annoying you, aggravating you. I don't know whether I'm... I don't know. All I know is my intentions are pure. For that I can vouch. On my life I can vouch. On my Nibbāna I can vouch for that, because if I do anything that is not aligned with compassion and loving kindness, then it is Nibbana that I kick out the window. And I'm not prepared to do that. So on that, I can vouch. But I don't know what effect these words have on you. I don't know whether you have now become immune to them. To some extent. I don't know whether these are not the kind of things you want out of a sermon. I don't know whether it's just Dhamma you want to learn. Right, let's do a course. Right? Lesson 1, Paticcasamuppada. Lesson 2, Chittas and Chaitasikas. Lesson 3, let's talk about Rupa Kalapa. But I never came to the sasana for that. That's why in these talks, in this series of talks, you get a little bit of Dhamma, but more love. More oomph. That's what you get more of. More kick up your backside. That's the way my teacher guides me. Sometimes I take questions to him and say, nah, pass. Not because he doesn't know the answer, because he knows that question has little relevance to my Nibbana. So he saves me time. Wow. What a teacher. He doesn't waste my time answering some of my questions. I mean, you can't get better than that, can you? He doesn't waste my time answering some of my questions. Because he says, irrelevant to your practice. See how much he cares? That's why I'm not in a Dhamma school. I'm in a school of life. I'm not there to learn Dhamma. I didn't go into the sasana to learn the Dhamma. I came into the sasana to learn Nibbana, to experience Nibbana, bliss. The Dhamma is only a means to that end. If there was some way I could check just the right amount of Dhamma, not a syllable more. If there was some way I could check exactly the right amount of Dhamma I needed for Nibbana, I wouldn't waste another breath. Not a second. Turning another page. Listening to another discourse. Thinking about some convoluted Dhamma point. I wouldn't. Because it's not Dhamma I have come for. But I want to know what you have come for. Last week we didn't talk about much Dhamma at all. Last week we talked about sacrifices. But I was thinking on the way back home, I wonder whether that was what people came for. And whether you might have gone home disappointed. What a waste of time that was. I wonder whether you might have felt that way. But then I reassured myself, no, Rajagiriyans are not like that. Otherwise you wouldn't have been coming along for the 100 long sermons, right? There must be something that you feel resonates with you. But this is the Nibbana that I know, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I know. I don't believe that in the Dhamma there is Nibbana. It's like the journey is not the destination, is it? The journey is only a means to the destination. So it is not necessary for you to travel all the roads and by roads and side roads. It's not necessary. When you want to get to a destination, you find the shortest, if not the quickest path. That is where my head is. What is the quickest path to Nibbana? Actually, it doesn't have to be easy. I don't care for it to be easy. It doesn't have to be easy. I don't care for that. I've done tough and difficult things in life. It doesn't have to be easy. But hopefully it's the quickest. That's what I want. It can be tough, it's fine. Uphill is all right. I can manage that. Uphill like this, that's still all right. I'll use a ladder. It's fine. It's thorny. Fair enough. I'm used to that. There are demons lurking. That's all right. I can handle them. My teacher's there with me. But it has to be the quickest path to Nibbana. That I'm very particular about. That's why at our monastery what we do is a little bit of Dhamma, a lot of practice. Which is why I'm always going on about, take this home with you. At the dinner table, don't leave all this here and just serve yourself some foodtainment. You just eat, don't entertain. So I ask you once again, one last time, promise yourself, not on my behalf, not for my sake, promise yourself from here on at least, how many more years do you have to live, ladies and gentlemen? How many years did you make food and entertainment? Right? You made food your entertainment for the last, exactly, that many years, right? How about we dedicate the next few years? It's not like you're going to live forever, right? The next few years, how about we dedicate our focus, our practice to ensure that when we eat and nothing more. That our choices about our food are driven by your necessity for energy and nourishment. So you always check with your body, what is it that you need before you open your mouth and shove things in there? If you are deficient in something, take that. If you need more calcium, take more calcium. If you need more vitamin C, take vitamin C. But vitamin C doesn't necessarily have to come from an ice cream. Calcium doesn't necessarily have to come from a chocolate pie. Doesn't have to. Don't fool yourself to thinking chocolate pie, calcium. No. Don't fool yourself to think that. And I'm talking about food, I'm talking about food this much with this degree of emphasis because it's a huge problem. It's not a light problem. It is probably going to be one of the biggest problems you will have to tackle on your way to Nibbana. Giving up on a woman is a walk in the park compared to this. So if you think you're struggling with women problems, or if you think you're struggling with not being able to give up on your man, well, this is on the other end of the spectrum. Those are minuscule compared to this. I say this because this is what the Buddha said. So let's work on that. All I ask you to do is this. Look at it. Look at your food. With insightful awareness, ask yourself, where's the color? Where's color in my food? Where's the smell in my food? Where's the taste in my food? Where's the sound in my food? Where's the touch in my food? None of these things are in the food. The only thing that's there is what? Energy. So then ask yourself, why am I eating this? Is it for any one of these reasons? If it is, pick yourself up, get out of your seat, and kick yourself in the butt. Sit back down again, and then ask yourself again, what am I eating this for? You don't have to change your meal. Don't have to. You don't have to go throw it all in the bin and then cook yourself a meal again. That's not what I'm asking you to do. That you should have done before you decided what to cook. But if it's already been served, now it's too late to make that choice because we don't like waste. We don't waste food. Now food has been served on your plate, especially if you're not the one who makes those choices at home, right? Then as long as food has been served, you eat what you've been served. You can't be picky with your food. When people are picky, what are they picky about? Energy. Is that what people are picky about? Energy. What are they picky about? Sight, color, smell, taste. Yeah? These are the things that people are picky about, right? Basically, things that don't come in the food. That's what people are picky about. So if you are picky with your food, it's not your food you're picky about. It's all of these things. These things are not in the food. That's why this awareness will help you to actually live a healthier life. It will help you live a more spiritual life. It will help you become more thrifty, so you don't waste. It will help you become more economical. You will spend less on the things you don't need. You'll be very mindful with your spending. When you go shopping, you will save time because you won't be just walking down the aisles, meaninglessly. Just wondering, what else can I have? Don't go, what else can I have to the supermarket? That's what they want you to do. Don't look at how much you have to spend and then go to the supermarket. First look at what you want for your sustenance and then go to the supermarket. But then, if you have friends coming over, this advice is only for you personally. If you have friends coming over, please make sure that they're fed well. Fed well doesn't mean it has enough energy, because then you can just serve them glucose. Right? You have to give them a hearty meal. A what meal? Hearty. Meaning it has to ignite the what? The heart. It has to engage the heart. Meaning it has to be very pleasurable. That's when it becomes a hearty meal. Then it has to be colorful, it has to have a lot of sound, it has to have smell, it has to have all those aromas, and it has to have the ambient sound and the music and the colors and everything. Right? Entertain them, because you have invited them to entertain them. So entertain them, that's fine. But if you entertain guests from Rajagiriya, then perhaps you can just do an arms round and, you can give each of them an alms bowl and they will come on Pindapata, you can serve them food, right? And then they can all sit down and do the pratyaksha like you do at the monastery. But first ask them whether they're Dharmisha Rajagirians, not just any Rajagirians. So that's what you could do when you're among noble friends. But when you're just among average friends, you can't do any of that. Just bow your head to what the world wants from you and fulfill their needs. If that is becoming too cumbersome, then this is the only answer I see. Come to robes where life is much simpler, much simpler. One of the greatest gifts I have received as a fact of coming into robes is today I don't have to do anything that makes no sense as far as Nibbana is concerned. Nothing. Zero. No parties, no one invites me. And I'm not resentful about that, I'm grateful about that. No birthdays. We don't celebrate birthdays. So no cakes for birthday, no happy birthday to me. None of that. We don't have that at the monastery. Because there is no such thing called a happy birthday. If each Chitta is born only at that moment, right? How can there be a birthday every year? That makes no sense. Right? Are you only born? What does that mean? You're actually celebrating the day that your body came out of your mother's womb. That is not your birthday. How could that be a birthday? You don't have a birthday, you have a birth moment. That's what you really have. That's what you really have. Causes align and the Chitta comes into existence. That is its birth. That was not the same Chitta, or it has no relation to the Chitta that arose 45 years ago, if that's how old you are. No relation. That's what I mean. So what does it mean to celebrate a birthday? But if your friends want you to celebrate your birthday, then do so. Otherwise, bring them here so that they can listen to the sermons. And then they realize, my, what a waste of time that was. But how much do you spend on birthdays? When you take a party, you celebrate birthdays, how much do you spend on them? You have to have a cake, you have to have the confetti, you have to have the balloons, you have to have call them, what? See, it's long been since I've had any of that, so I can't remember. You have to have a band, that's the one I was looking for. Now, if you want to take it at that scale, you have to have a band, you have to hire a venue. Much ado about nothing, right? After all you've done is spend hard-earned cash and have thought to yourselves that you're celebrating a birthday. That's only in your mind. These are all perceptions, nothing more than that. It's just an illusion, right? And at the end of the birthday party, what's left? Absolutely Nothing. I can tell you what is left though. At the end of that, you have some dishes that need washing, right? Some vomit that needs mopping. Huh? Then there are some bottles that have to be discarded before the children grab hold of them, right? And then there are some arguments that happen that now need mending, misunderstandings that now have to be fixed, right? Broken furniture that have to be repaired, and then shameful videos and photos of you that got somehow went onto Facebook that have to now be pulled out, right? They're embarrassing because someone thought it was a very smart idea to take a picture of you or a video of you while you had cake all over your face, and now it's there for your boss to see, and now you have to take all that down. This is the aftermath. You've gained nothing, nada. How many more years do you want to do this birthday celebrating malarkey? When are you going to be old enough to realize that you don't need a birthday anymore? I have seen people blowing candles on the 85th. Hane hapo is what I think. Presence and absence of Dhamma, that's it. What else? But you're here to go on a journey, aren't you? With me, with us, with the Mahasangha. Right? So then your actions must be coherent with your thinking. At least when you're alone. When you're among friends, you do what they ask of you. Well, you do what they want you to do, right? When you're at work, you do what your colleagues want you to do. You do what your boss wants you to do. When you're on the street, you do what your fellow citizens want you to do, okay? But when you're on your own, do what I want you to do. That is all I ask of you. When you're alone, do what I want you to do. When you're in a community, do what the community wants you to do. But in your mind, always do what I want you to do, because I want you to do what the Buddha wants us to do. Right, let's leave it there. So this is homework, okay? A very short announcement. So from next Sunday, which is the 17th of August, till the 21st of September, which is 6 consecutive weeks, the sermon is going to be held in the other hall. So I think they have some exams or something that's going on here. So we will vacate exams, I think, yes. So we will have the sermon in the other hall. I just want to let everyone know. And the other thing is, because we now have a lot of new people, they're always welcome, because there's no such thing called new people, old people. It's all Chitta's minds that wish to attain Nibbana. I did ask the school management to make just let everyone know what the housekeeping is at the school, and how we must all ensure that we cause as little hassle to the school management and the housekeeping staff and all that. So I think there might have been a message shared in your groups, no? Okay, then please do that. So it was just as a matter of courtesy to both towards the school and everyone else, so we all know how we can support that we get at the school, right? They're doing more than we could ask for. And when I made that request to the school management, there was one story that they shared with me which really struck a chord. I said, whose cars are allowed through the barricade? And because I just wanted to know whether we were causing any disruption to the activities going on. And so they said, Swaminatha, only your cars allowed to come in and then remain within this, on this side of the barricade. Everyone else uses the other side of the car park. Then I asked, well, aren't there sometimes people who find it difficult to walk and maybe, mobility problems and so on? And then she said, Swaminatha, yes, on occasion there are one or two ladies particularly who have mobility problems. But she said, Swaminatha, can you believe me that to this day, they have never caused a fuss about it. Never. Because we have very politely requested all Rajagirians who visit the sermon to only use the space outside the barricade. And if she had asked, I would have said yes. Because it's a mobility problem, because we are very understanding of that. But it was never asked of me. And she was saying, Swaminatha, I through this, these are examples that bring life to me, that what we do here at Gateway is actually gateway to Nibbana. And she was very appreciative of that on behalf of the school management. That's why, these little gestures of kindness and thoughtfulness, ladies and gentlemen, they really go a long way. Ultimately, it is not I who sold this program to the Gateway management, it's you. You have convinced them that this is worthwhile, that it is worth having these halls, keeping them open, right? Switching these lights on, running the air conditioners, opening all these facilities for all of you to use so that you can practice the path and get your destination. They have decided that it is worthwhile, it is useful. For 100 long sessions they've done it. So at this point, it's not because of me, it's because of what you have proven to be. So when that story was shared with me, I just realized, wow, this is what I want from this community. People who are thoughtful, people who would never dream of doing something that would be the least bit discourteous or would cause an inconvenience to others. She said, if even at the slightest hint that was required, Swaminatha, I would have said yes. Because she has mobility issues and she needs, it's a very reasonable ask, but to this day she's never asked Swaminatha because we've made a decision that you don't take vehicles on this side of the barricade, and therefore she's always adhered to that. Sadhu sadhu, that's all I can say. These are the makings of arahants, where you look beyond your comforts and look at what the world needs from you, rather than what you need from the world. That's the true arahant. Not what I need from the world, but what does the world need from me. I'm sure all of you are like that. This is just one example, but I thought I should share that with you because it was a truly remarkable story of one character. But I'm sure you're all like that. And if the situation presented itself, you would always be courteous and be very polite and always make sure that we only use these premises in a way that causes minimum disruption to whatever is going on at the school. And that is why if the school is not available on some days, we always say, right, let's do it at the monastery. If something's given to you generously and out of charity, what demands can you make? What demands can you make? Making a demand is an insult, isn't it? Just making a demand is an insult, as far as I'm concerned. We are beggars, ladies and gentlemen. We are beggars. We beg to the universe. If the universe chooses that we should have today, then we shall have. If the universe decides that today is not the day for us to have, then we shan't have. That is what the Buddha gave me the alms bowl for. Go begging. Beg. If they decide to let you have, then you shall have. If they decide you don't have, you don't have. That's it. Well done, Dharmishta Rajagirians. Well done. Right, let's do the merit transfer and bring today's sermon to a close. First and foremost, let us all take a moment to remind ourselves of the infinite sacrifices that have been made by the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, upasakas and upasikas, who have since time immemorial protected and preserved the sublime teachings of the Buddha and passed it down through generations of the noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, understand and comprehend the Dhamma. Let us also transfer this message to the monks and nuns resident in your local temples and nunneries, who have always been by your side through thick and thin, come rain or shine, as well as the Mahanayakas and the Anunayakas of all the chapters throughout the world who have sacrificed and dedicated themselves to preserve the Sambuddha Sasana for now and for posterity. Let us also transfer this message to my teacher, Guru Swami Nuhanse, as well as all the monks resident at the monastery and the Anagarikas and Anagarikas attached to the monastery. Let us take a moment to transfer this message to those who make great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Buddha, be that by translating these talks, sharing them out with others, or inviting others to join them. May they all rejoice in these merits, and by the power of these merits, may they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcoming obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer this message to our devotees, friends of the monastery, who for the sake of merits to help them attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes all of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, alms, robes and medicines, as well as those who pass on their know-how and continue to extend their well wishes. Let us also transfer this message to our mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, neighbors and nieces, our friends, our acquaintances, our employees, and employees, as well as anyone and everyone who have helped us, supported us, and assisted us in any way, shape, or form, reminding ourselves of the infinite sacrifices that they make on our behalf. And so, with an abundance of compassion and gratitude towards all that they have done for us, let us transfer all these merits to all of them, and by the power of these merits, may they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to the Devas and Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as all the numerous gods and deities who have committed themselves to fulfill the Sambuddha Sasana. Let us transfer this message to our guardian deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also transfer this message to those who passed away in our name, our forefathers, our ancestors, reminding ourselves that in their blood, sweat, and tears, today we are able to enjoy the comforts of life and practice the path in peace and harmony. Let us transfer this message to members of the armed forces as well as the police force who sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. Let us transfer this message to those who lost their lives to natural disasters and calamities such as the tsunamis and earthquakes, landslides, fires, floods, pandemics, and so on, as well as those who lost their lives in the war, be they friend or foe, reminding ourselves that in this infinitely long journey of samsara, they will all have been parents to us, siblings to us, friends to us, acquaintances to us, and would have supported us, assisted us in many ways and forms, and reminding ourselves of all of that they have done for us. And with an abundance of compassion and loving kindness towards all, let us transfer the merits that we have acquired to all of them. May by the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful planes, they redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may by the power and blessings of all the merits we have acquired throughout the day, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of arahants on this blessed land. And finally, may you and I, and everyone who's helped make this program a success, become a Rahatan Vahanse or an Arahat Theranin Vahanse in this life itself and in this era of the Sambuddha Sasana itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all. Members of the Mahasangha will now transfer their blessings to you. Rajagiriya nidatva dveshagiriya nidatva mohagiriya nidatva Nibbāna parama sukhayan Sukhita taravatva Nibbāna parama sukhayan Sukhita taravatva Mamada siyalu loka siyalu satvayo Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhitatara vetva. Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhitatara vetva. Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhitatara vetva. Rajagini niveva dveshagini niveva mohagini niveva nivan sapa labeva nivan sapa labeva nivan sapa labeva. තුන්රුවන්ගේ සූසි අනන්ත මහා ගුණ බලෙන් සියලු ලෝක සියලු සත්වයෝම නිබ්බාන පරම සුඛයෙන් සුගතතර වෙත්වා. සාදු සාදු සාදු.